Thank you, councilors. With that, I am going to...
Indivisible, con libertad y justicia para todos.
Thank you so much, Councillor Sena. So, councilors, before we get started, I have some information that I need to note to the public. As was noticed in our press release,
That I actually worked on was really getting $1 million out to our nonprofits, and she and I served on really the most challenging committees that we've really had, was thinking about, okay, how can we get this funding out the door, especially when we didn't know at that point whether we would get CARES funding or ARPA money for that fact. And so she and I worked together as part of my first legislation on council. So just want to recognize her for that, and continuing on that we really accomplished a lot on this council, and we certainly couldn't have done it without each other. So thank you to Councillor Gibson.
Thank you, Councillor Sena. And I just want to say thank you, Councillor Gibson. One of the first pieces of legislation that you and I worked on together was with regard to our coyotes and safeguarding them. And I think we've all, because of the way that Albuquerque, kind of where we live, we've learned to live with our furry friends and our four-legged friends as well. And that was one of the bills that you and I worked on together. The other one was with regard to trying to help our restaurants survive during COVID. And that was another bill where we extended the tents into the parking lots. And I think that really caught on, and it did help some. I don't know that it helped enough, but it helped some. So I acknowledge you for, although we not always agreed on things, and, we agree to disagree, and thank you for your service. Did you want to say anything, Councillor Gibson?
Thank you. I just really want to thank the people of District 7. We've done some pretty nice things together. We've done some things that are really going to have long-term impact, not only on the district, but on the city as a whole. And I've been really lucky to be representing them for the past 8 years. So thank you. And thank you all for the kind words. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Gibson. So with that, councillors, I am going to move kind of back to the councillors that I introduced earlier for any of our committee chairs. If anybody would like to say anything, this would be the opportunity to do that. I don't see any hands up, but I just want to acknowledge all of our committee chairs for the work that they do. This is never easy work for anybody. I had a little joke not too long ago, because I was at the dollar store and I saw a magic wand and it was $1. So I bought it because I thought, well, it's maybe that'll help us fix some of our problems around the city, right? It was just kind of jovial because I gave it to my little 2-year-old niece. But, you kind of wonder sometimes, these counselors that devote so much of their time and energy, and they have to listen to so many people, calling, emailing, texting. Kind of getting hit from all sides, especially when there's some really hot button issues out there. And I just want to thank all of our committee chairs for stepping up regarding that. I see that the mayor's conference room has their hand up, so I am going to acknowledge, is it Lawrence that's there?
Madam President.
Mr. Rael?
Thank you, Madam President. And Madam President, I would like to also join in with some of the councilors on behalf of the administration and the staff of the mayor. First and foremost, thanking Councillor Gibson for her years of service, along with Councillor Sena and Councillor Harris. Look, public service is one of those things that we all do every day. You all do it for very little pay. I didn't mean that to rhyme, but it did. So, and it's always amazing to me democracy is only as good as the people that step up to help the community get better. And certainly, I think I would echo Councillor Benton's comments about Councillor Gibson and the other two councillors, Councillor Senna and Councillor Harris, that the city is better off for having you all been spending some time helping us make this a better community. And so on behalf of the administration, thank you for your efforts, etc. You know, it's interesting. We don't always agree on everything, but what I really do appreciate about local government and all of you in particular as a council as a whole is that, you know, we can disagree today, but, you know, we still have so many issues. We can agree on many issues tomorrow. So to the three councillors, like to express our sincere thanks and appreciation for all the work you've done. And Councillor Borrego, you and I have worked together for many, many years when you were here as an employee of the city. And I want to make sure you as president, we appreciate you, all the work you've done, especially since you've been our virtual president for the whole term of your presidency. So thank you much for your support as well and for all the work you do on behalf of the community. And last but not least, I'd just like to let you all know that the mayor would like to get on closer to 5 to also share his personal thanks to all of you. So if you would indulge him at some point, we will let you know when he's available. So thank you much to all of you again.
We will absolutely, Mr. Rael, we will, they'll give me a cue when the mayor is ready. I also want to go to Councillor Pena, but I'm also going to make some remarks regarding Councillor Harris and Councillor Senna, who are departing councillors as well. So Councillor Pena, did you want to go ahead now, or did you want to wait until after we?
I can wait when it's appropriate. I just heard Mr. Rael speaking about you all, and I just didn't know. I'm sorry. I'm just listening to the Sheriff's Department press conference, pretty flustered over here. So just let me know when it's appropriate.
Thank you, Councillor Pena. So with that, councillors, I am going to move. I see Councillor Harris has joined us. Councillor Harris, I want to thank you for serving District 9 for the last 16 years. And, you know, I know that you and I worked together when I was still an employee of the city, and we worked on the redevelopment plan for East Central. So I just want to acknowledge you and the work that you've done in your district as well. I think Albuquerque's in that area is probably a better area because of you. And I wanted to see if any councillors had any comments for Councillor Harris. Councillor Senna and Councillor Pena.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to remark on Councillor Harris's long years of service. I know that him and Councillor Sanchez, Ken Sanchez, were good friends, and the two of them having served along with Councillor Benton the longest here on this body and nearly half of my life, not to make everyone feel old, but I just want to thank Councillor Harris for that. And in fact, he was my counselor for a very long time, having been born and raised in District 9, having moved away after I got married here to the west side, but just want to thank him for his years of service, really being a staple of City Council, along with Councillor Ken Sanchez and Councillor Benton. But I just want to thank him for all of his work and his continued service to our community.
Thank you, Councillor Senna. Councillor Pena.
Thank you, Madam President. I'll just reiterate what Councillor Senna said. You know, Don, I think you're amazing, you know, working together on a nonpartisan way, trying to move this city forward. I really appreciate you, your dedication. I know how hard it is, you know, the fact that you have to have a full-time job and do this work, which is also a full-time, if not more, job. So I just really appreciate you. I think you're awesome. And, you know, I know we went through a difficult time during the time with the loss of Councillor Sanchez. And, you know, I just want to say that, you know, even after he left, you know, just really, you know, the commitment that you've made to this city and working with all of us, we were able to pass really outstanding legislation that I don't think that if you were on council, we would have been able to do that. So thank you, Don.
Thank you so much. And Councillor Davis.
Well, thank you. And yeah, Don, I just want to say, you know, I think when I came to council, nobody thought you and I would be on this same side of things very often. And I think more and more you and I found each other on the same side of working on all kinds of issues for the International District, including our vacant property ordinance that you let me jump onto and really did have a big difference on East Central and is now a citywide process and program. So I think we're going to miss that experience, and I appreciate that very much. I can't wait to see what you get to do next, and I know you'll have us a part of it. And I do want to say, and I had a chance to tell Councillor Gibson my own thoughts earlier, but or over the weekend, but I can't wait to see all these councilors back in the front row at the City Hall in public comment, because they have never lacking for something to say, and we can't wait to see them back. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Davis. Councillor Harris, would you like to say anything?
Sure, and thank you, Madam President. And it really has been an honor and a privilege. I know that's kind of a cliche statement to serve these last 16 years. What I would like to let people know, and I don't think people realize this other than the other councilors who are up here, is that how much this position really does take away from your family and from your business. Shortly after I got elected, I talked to an attorney who had been in office for several years, and I asked him if being elected helped your business. He said, no, absolutely not. It does make you a better lawyer, but it certainly doesn't help your business. In fact, I found that it actually, if anything, hurts because people think they're too busy or people think they're political or whatever. For that reason, I think all councilors, I just wanted to let the public know that if anyone is on this call as a panelist, as a city councilor, this position is actually costing them money, a fair bit of money. When I first got on the council, back in 2005, I remember showing up at my swearing-in ceremony, which is going to happen for you in January 1. But I had Joshua with me, and he was about to turn 1 year old. He was on auction at that point. We adopted him from foster care, and I remember we were passing him around the room, and because he was such a cute baby, and then I kind of have to look for him. But anyway, now he's going to turn 17 in January. So it's interesting, it's been half of Councillor Senna's life. It's been almost all of my son Joshua's life. He's 16, about to turn 17. So I really need to really pay attention to him the last couple of years, pay attention to my business. People have been suggesting or speculating that the reason why I'm stepping down from city council is I want to run for something else. And people have all kinds of suggestions about what that's going to be. I'm like, no, really, I'm going home. And I just want to thank all the councilors. One of the things I wanted to chat about is how on city council, I've said this before, but when we're up on our dais, there is no aisle. There's no aisle. I mean, people don't sit on one half of the dais or the other half of the dais. They've always tried to mix people up. And the nonpartisan attitude is really something that I think we've taken seriously from time to time. And we really have become good friends. One of the nicest memories I have, Councillor Benton was there along with his wife, my former wife, and Ray Garduno. We were watching Maceo Parker at the museum. And then it started thundering and pouring down rain. It was a really torrential, so the only way we could do is everyone had to pack in. And we packed right next to the stage. It was me and Ray and Councillor Benton and Councillor Benton's wife and my wife and Ray's wife. We were all packed in huddling under the rain. It was just this magical evening. And it was just something I shared with, two councilors who are on the opposite side of the, we see the world through a different lens, but, that evening, certainly, it was just a magical evening with my good friends. And that's how I think of you guys. I appreciate serving with you. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Harris. You've been a great friend to many of us, and we appreciate you. With that, councilors, I want to move on to Councillor Senna for serving District 1 since March 2020. And as you all know, she was appointed by the Mayor Keller, and she has really stepped up in the role that she was entrusted with. And I just want to say, Councillor Senna, it's been great to get to know you and really, not just getting to know you as a person, but understanding your culture and some things that you brought to the table in terms of some things that, you know, some of us maybe didn't understand about, you know, how many different types of Asian culture there is, and things that, you know, would make us think twice because of you. And so I personally want to thank you for that. I would like to know if there are any other counselors that would like, and also I have to say this also, Counselor, I mean, just that age difference. I mean, we brought it up earlier, so I have to bring it up again. I think it gives us a whole nother perspective on life in general. So thank you for that. It's been good, and I appreciate that. Any other counselors like to say anything about Counselor Sena? Counselor Pena?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I know we're going to have an opportunity to speak one-on-one, but I just really want to say what an amazing person you are. I just, you know, as you know, I was reluctant when you came onto council because, you know, that was Ken's seat. And, you know, I just really wanted to make sure that the right person was holding that seat. And boy, the mayor really picked a good one. I've just been so impressed of your class, your grace, your intelligence, and how you really put a lot of thought into everything you do. So when we talk one-on-one, I can talk more about that, but I really appreciate you, Councillor Sena, and I absolutely think that there's a role for you in public service as you move on. The world will be a better place with you serving somewhere. So thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Pena. Counselor Bassan.
Thank you, Madam President. So Counselor Sena, you and I have talked many times about how we have not necessarily agreed on policy in almost everything or a lot of things, but we ended up talking and listening to one another, and that caused for a lot more middle ground than I ever anticipated with whatever stereotype was there when you first were appointed. So this has been a long journey and you've taught me a lot. And so thank you. And Madam President, I also just want to take this opportunity to say thank you to all of the counselors, Councillor Harris, Gibson, Sena, and Barreto. It's my blanket thank you. And you all have taught me a lot. And boy, how do you keep me on my toes. So best of luck to you. And thank you for doing everything you've done.
Any other counselors?
Madam President.
Counselor Gibson?
I would also like to thank you for serving as president of the council this past year and for serving District 5 for the past 4 years. I was wondering if there's anybody else who would like to make a comment.
Thank you, Counselor Gibson. Counselor Davis.
Thanks, Madam President. Yeah, I have to say, you had an extraordinary year, and I had a little piece of it in my term of service just before you. Keeping this rowdy bunch together is hard enough in person. It is even worse online, and keeping up with everything is an almost impossible task. But you have managed it with grace, and I appreciate it very much. Your passion for your district and for the families and the people in your neighborhood is unmatched. And I'm so glad that you'll continue to be in service so we can work with you next door at AMAFCA and in so many other roles that I know we're going to see you in. So thank you, ma'am. It's been a pleasure to work with you, and I can't wait to continue to do that.
Thank you, Counselor Davis. Counselor Benton.
Yes, well, we all know that Councilor Borrego has not only served the city council, but the city of Albuquerque for decades now. And that's a lifetime commitment to the city of Albuquerque, and we owe her a thanks for that as well. I think she'd get some kind of hardware. You get something more than a gavel, don't you, Madam President? I think you get some kind of nice plaque record to thank you. But
there's something sitting in front of me, Counselor, but I don't know what it is. It's in a box.
Well,
so
don't open it yet. Well, you know, we'll have a no. Just kidding. Yeah, this, you know, the last couple of years have been no picnic. It's been like nothing I've ever seen before. So, you know, ups and downs, but I know that you fought for your district, gotten a lot of important infrastructure on the way, if not delivered. So thanks for that, and thanks for your lifetime service to the city.
Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Harris.
Sure, and thank you, Madam President. And just want to, follow up on some of the comments you made. Yeah, we have worked together for a long, long time. I was working on the East Gateway, metropolitan redevelopment area. I think it was 2007. So that's how long we've been like actively working together and off and on in the city, and your service to the city as well as to your district. And one thing, just for you as well as to Councillor Sena, I've really been impressed with Councillor Sena, her intelligence, her fairness, her studying everything. And one thing that before I got elected to city council, I did lose an election. I ran for another office and I lost. And I don't know if people realize just how difficult that is. When you put yourself out there publicly and then you get rejected publicly, I mean, that's a real punch in the gut. And for Councilor Borrego, Madam President, and Councilor Sena to be here and just follow through and push it, because I've seen other councilors who just kind of checked out after they've lost an election. You guys haven't. You're carrying through your charge to serve your districts until the end, and I appreciate you for that. And thank you so much for putting yourself out there. And I know there's going to be a future for you. I don't know what it is, but when God closes one door, He always opens another. So I look forward to that, seeing what that is.
Thank you, Councillor Harris. Councillor Sena, I'm sorry I didn't see your hand up earlier.
Well, I would love to give my closing remarks as well, but I do want to just take the time, since I have the floor, to thank Madam President for your leadership through this past year. I think that especially through navigating and still continuing to navigate through the pandemic has certainly not been easy. And I think that we've always appreciated your presence on council, as well as your leadership moving forward. So I just want to thank you for that. In terms of for my closing remarks, it's only been roughly about 640 days that I served as a city councilor. But wow, what have we accomplished in the past 2 years since March of 2020? Of course, my coming into council was difficult in itself, aside from the pandemic, having lost such a staple of District 1 with the passing of Councillor Ken Sanchez. It, I think, hit us all pretty profoundly. And then having to come in and really swear in on the same day that the governor declared a public health emergency, sending everyone home. Really, my saving grace was really Elaine Romero. Having her as a policy analyst, being able to, of course, never fulfilling the place of Councillor Ken Sanchez, but rather stepping up and not exactly filling the void, but just stepping into a different role and capacity. Elaine, the city gave me a cell phone and said, okay, tag, you're it. Welcome to city council. And so Elaine has really been there for me through and through. I think that we'll be recognizing in a minute just how much she has served the district. But for me, navigating these really tumultuous times through the pandemic, even early on when we really had no idea what was happening. But even before then, in my own advocacy work, being able to work really in the public comment space, working with fellow counselors, and then now serving as a colleague, has, as Councillor Harris stated, is a bit of a cliche, but it is truly what I believe. It has been an honor and privilege serving on this council, even through the pandemic, being able to serve myself alone with city employees and our senior affairs, over 5,000 meals to our seniors, planting over 100 trees in my district, being shoulder to shoulder with so many of the folks that have kept us running as a city. So I want to extend my gratitude to our city employees, our public safety sphere, from transit to solid waste, and all of those that really graciously gave me the time for the ride-alongs to understand the complexity of what it takes to keep the city functioning in all aspects. And I think that even from when Councillor Sanchez was on, he truly believed in a service to community, and that's what this position was. And I believe that in my heart that I've served in that same capacity, being able to say that I am a servant to our communities, even as tough as it was serving 16-hour days, restless, sleepless nights, often walking our food banks, and hearing some of the heartbreaking stories of those on the verge of eviction, and yet being able to really see the hope that our community stepped up to provide for each other. So I just want to remark and really lament on that, because it has been an honor. And of course, thanking not just the mayor, not just the administration, but also this council for being able to have the opportunity to serve, and really serve during the most difficult times of our city and nation, as we're still navigating through this pandemic, but really being able to step up and give back to community. And for that, I will always forever be grateful.
Thank you, Councillor Sena. Councillor Pena.
Sorry, I'm not sure. I thought we were on Councillor Sena, and then I think I'm probably the last one. So I'll be brief because I know I'm going to see you as well, Councillor Borrego. But, you know, this has been a long run, and the same thing holds true for you. I think there's a role for you as a public servant here down the road. You know, I was very disappointed when you both lost. Obviously, I know Dan and I know Louis, and both fine men, but it just holds true. I think a couple of you have said it. Don said it, Lan, you know, just working together and really making a difference. We've passed some of the most important legislation, I think, that has been in front of us with all of you. So I just want to say, Councillor Borrego, you know, it's been a long haul, all the work you've done, your lifelong public service, and I don't see it stopping here. So thank you, Councillor Borrego.
Thank you, Councillor Pena. With that, I'm just going to go ahead and say a couple of words. You know, councillors, it has been really an honor to serve as your council president. I was counting the years. I've actually served the city of Albuquerque, the city, the county, the state for 32 years. And I keep telling myself, you know, they've got to start making better makeup pretty soon, because after a while you start to realize that those years start to add up. What's really impressive for me serving on city council, not only the dedication that I've seen from all the councilors to make our city better, but especially this time that was so unprecedented during COVID. I mean, it was like 10 times harder to make sure that we got money out the door, to make sure that we set good policy for the city, and that we were all, I mean, as I mentioned earlier, we didn't always agree on things, but we agreed to disagree most of the time. And I think we left with that, you know, respect for each other. So I think having served on both sides, both as an employee and as a public servant, as an elected official, it gives you a whole nother perspective on life. And I will also say, having served now as someone who's won an election and lost an election, you know, my mom, being the very intelligent woman that she is, says everything happens for a reason. And you know, you move forward and you keep moving forward on this journey that we're all embarked together on this journey. And, you know, we've lost a few people during these last couple of years, actually. And it makes you really think about what's important in life. And what is important in life is really, it's not, you know, politics before people. It's actually people before politics. And if there's just anything that I could leave this office with as I move forward, and hopefully I'll move forward to keep an eye on my business, because honestly, I don't even know if it's still there. I went in there the other day and I was like, oh my God, I haven't been here in weeks, you know? So that's one thing that I will tell you that I'm going to move forward on, is working on my business and keeping that up. And when you're a small business owner, and I have so much respect for this council, for trying to keep our small businesses alive, and also for working to keep people in housing. That was huge. And those are two huge pieces that I'm going to leave here with. I don't know, what the future will bring, but I look forward to it. I do. So with that, I'm not gonna, I will miss all of you. So with that, we're going to move forward, councilors. We have a proclamation for Elaine Romero. Councilor Sena.
Thank you so much, Madam President. And I know Elaine Romero is probably going to kill me for this, but I wanted to truly honor her for her service to—
Councilor Sena, we're going to get that up.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. If Julian, you can bring up the proclamation as I read it, since we had to be very sneaky because, as we all know, our policy analysts can see what's in our emails. I want to thank Dawn Marie, Diane Dolan, Aziza, all of staff, Julian, for really being able to put and carry this through to surprise Elaine. As we all know, it's very hard to surprise her. I think I have the proclamation here, if Julian can pull that up. But I know that we have—
Madam President, Councilor Sena, give me 1 second. I'll have it up.
Thank you. But while Julian brings that up, and before I read it, I know that we have a lot of folks here to provide comments just as to how much she has truly served the district. I think that Council District 1, Ken Sanchez and Elaine Romero, all of those words were synonymous with each other. And District 1's truly going to miss her. But I know that she'll continue on to serve community. So I will read the proclamation. Whereas Elaine Romero has served as the Albuquerque City Council District 1 Policy Analyst since June of 2006, and whereas a lifelong resident of Albuquerque's West Side, Ms. Romero has always served her constituency with the utmost respect, taking pride in the relationship she has formed with so many throughout District 1, while working together with so many for the betterment of the Council District 1 and the city of Albuquerque. And whereas in January 2020, we lost our beloved Councillor Ken Sanchez, she remained serving in District 1 and continued on his great work serving as Councillor Lancena's policy analyst. And whereas Elaine Romero has been an intricate member of the City Council office and City Council District 1, being involved in countless projects, pieces of legislation, and improvements to Albuquerque's West Side. And whereas the institutional knowledge she has, particularly with the complex workings of being a policy analyst, is invaluable, and we would be amiss not to acknowledge her years of dedication and service. And whereas her humbleness, kindness, and true love for helping others while working for the city of Albuquerque has left lasting impressions throughout City Hall and the city of Albuquerque. And whereas her willingness to help extends beyond constituents to colleagues and other city staff, never failing to make others feel welcomed and comfortable, and always available to provide mentorship and advice to new staff who join City Council services. And whereas Elaine Romero is an asset and dedicated public servant to the city of Albuquerque and its resident, be it proclaimed that the council, the governing body of the city of Albuquerque, hereby recognizes Elaine Romero for her dedication and service to Council District 1, council services, and the city of Albuquerque.
Thank you, Councillor Sena. That was beautiful. I think that the mayor's office wants to say a few words as well. So I'll go to them first.
Hi, this is Isaac Padilla. Just thank you, Council President Borrego. I just wanted to say that Elaine was somebody that I met. Like, I'm actually most people don't know, I have served as a policy analyst. So I know how easy it is to make counselors happy when you're serving in that role. It's a very difficult role. They get really, really close with the counselors. But when I first went to council to work for Councillor Harris, Elaine was the person that helped me learn the ropes. So I just want to thank her for all of her work and for all the policy analysts. I know how hard they all work. I know that they work extremely hard. They're very dedicated to their job. They work long hours. But Elaine, you are special to me, and I just really want to thank you for all the work that you've done.
Thank you, Mr. Padilla. Any counselors want to say anything? I see Councillor Sena.
Madam President, I know that we have a lot of folks who have also jumped on, including family members of our late Councillor Ken Sanchez. So I do want to take the time to also recognize them. For those that have joined on to speak to Elaine's service and commitment to the district, I know that we have a few folks, but I just want to make sure, just so that we have the order together, if you guys can also raise your hand using the raise hand function after we recognize our counselors. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sena. I will absolutely recognize those individuals. I see a couple of them on, but I'm going to go to Councillor Benton first. Councillor
Thank you, Madam President. Elaine, hey, look, what can I say? You've trained everybody that ever worked for me, and me too. So, and you've just been the greatest asset of the council overall, not just to your district, but District 1. But yeah, what can we say? You're beloved, and we think so highly of you, and you've helped so many people on this call, whether we're up here as the panelists or attendees, and all the great folks who help the council work well. And we're a small unit, but we're a close-knit unit, and it's been a tough couple of years without having been able to have dinner together and the dinner break and to just see each other very often. It's like, hey, when we see each other in the council office, I can't believe I'm seeing you in person. But yeah, thanks for everything, Elaine, for all you've helped me. And whenever, Diane or Karisha Rosenfield went on vacation, you were there to back me up. So thanks for that. And yeah, we wish you the absolute best, and hope we keep working with you in the future.
Thank you, Councillor. I'm going to do the councillors first, and then I'm going to go to the public, and I'm going to allow the public to speak because I know they have some great things to say about Elaine. Councillor Gibson, Councillor Pena, and then Councillor Jones.
Thank you. So you know what? I had my speakers off for just a little bit. I was doing something else. I turned them back on, and I thought everybody's talking about me. But what? They weren't. We're talking about you, Elaine. Are you crying? You're crying. I'm not crying, but you're crying. We love you. I love you. You're going to be great. That's it.
Thank you, Councillor Gibson. Councillor Pena.
Thank you, Madam President. Elaine, you're the best. You know that. You're like family. We just love you, and I know you're going to be around. So this isn't a goodbye, but it's been a tough time, not just during the pandemic, but the loss of Ken, who is my dear friend, but he was your, you guys were attached at the hip, and I know it's been such a difficult time and turbulent time for you, just with the readjustment. Change is hard for everybody, but like everyone's reiterating over and over, Elaine, you're always there. You're always there for all of us when we need you. So thank you for everything, Elaine.
Thank you, Councillor Pena. Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Madam President. Elaine, you are an amazing person. I have to tell you, when my days were a little uncomfortable in the office, I would always come down that hallway and open the door and go down your hallway and come in and either say funny, nice things or whine. and ask you to help me. So you are the backbone. You are city council. You know every piece of it. You've worked every piece of it. And we all know you not only as a wonderfully, wonderfully competent policy analyst and person, but also as our friend, hopefully forever. Thank you, Elaine.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Harris.
Thank you, Madam President. And yeah, just as I sit here thinking about Elaine, I mean, the things that come to mind, well, first of all, when we got elected, it was me, Ken, and Ike. We all got elected the same day. And actually I had a runoff, so we got sworn in the same day. I got elected a month later than the rest of those folks. And I still, when Councillor Senna calls me, it comes up Ken Sanchez on my phone. So that, you know, there's always going to be a memory of me and City Council is intertwined with Ken's memory, and of course that with Elaine. What happened is that, you know, Ken died right around January 1, 2020. We had the pandemic in March of 2020. So the whole, you know, last 2 years has kind of been this fog of losing Ken and going through this pandemic. So I don't really know where I'm going with this, Elaine, but I love you, and can't wait to see you on the other side.
Thank you, Councillor Harris. I want to say, Elaine, you are like a sister, a daughter, a niece, and I'm glad that you live only down the street from me. So I look forward to seeing you in the future. I remember when I first met you, I was still a staff person, and you know, Ken was here, and I mean, one of the things that I recognized in you right away is that you have this keen ability to listen to people, even when it doesn't seem like, you know, people are just talking and you're listening, and then you take action on what those needs are from people, and that's something that not everyone has. And I give you that, whatever that skill or that ability that you have is something that cannot be learned. It's just something that's innate in somebody's nature. And not only that, you're a nice person. So thank you for that. And you have a wonderful family. And, you know, I just know that you're going to go on to do great things as you move forward. So do you want to say anything, Elaine, or do you?
Wow. Yes, Councillor Gibson, you're right. I'm crying. I had no idea this was going to happen today. And Dawn Marie wanted to come and watch the council meeting at my house, oddly enough. First, Councillor Senna, Lad, my friend. It has been such an honor to get to know you and work with you over the last year and a half. When Councillor Sanchez passed, such a big part of my heart and my life was taken, and you helped me heal through that. And it's been such a joy to work with you in the community and see all that you've continued and done on your own. So thank you. Councillors, wow, I could sit here and tell stories all day long, but I know you've got a meeting to run, but I can't thank you guys enough for your support, as me as a person, the city as a whole, for being my family and loving me and bringing me into your homes and letting me be part of your families. I think majority of you, I know all of your families, and I love you, whether it's your fur babies, your real babies, your husbands, your wives, so many people in your families. And I can't thank you enough for that. I've known many of you for 16 years, others for much shorter time, and I love you all equally. Thank you for taking the time to do this. And I promise, and I say this to people that mean the world to me, and I'm sorry, my dog obviously wants to be part of this. I've said many a time, you will never get rid of me, and I promise you won't. I have every one of your personal numbers. I love you all. Thank you. And
Elaine, we have some more people that want to say some things to you. So if you'll just hang on just a minute, I'm going to allow that. It's not typical that I do let the public in, but I'm going to because they requested it. So I'm going to start with Jackie Sanchez, and then I'm going to move to Jerry Worrell and Frida Worrell, and then to Mike. So if you'll just hang tight, please. Jackie.
Thank you, Council President, and thank you the rest of the State Council for having me today. I am the daughter of the late Ken Sanchez, State Councilor. Councilor Sena, thank you for having me and for giving me the opportunity to honor Elaine Romero. Some of you know Elaine Romero is my dad's right hand. I always laugh and say she's actually his left hand because he's left-handed. She was one of the ones fighting with him for the Patrick J. Baca Library, all the way to Fire Station 7, sports stadiums, and so many fights in between. She was a heartfelt line of communication for all the constituents in District 1, assuring that their voices would be heard given to Councillor Sanchez and the rest of the council if need be. Elaine, thank you for all of the years of selfless service. Thank you for keeping my father's legacy alive, and thank you for fixing his hair and straightening his ties so he looked handsome for all the council meetings. Most of all, thank you for loving District 1 and improving it daily. And thank you for keeping my father's shoes moving forward. And thank you for keeping the gaping hole that was left in our hearts and the hearts of the community filled with your love, passion for the West Side of District 1. And I'm so blessed to have a bonus sister in you, Elaine, because you know my dad thought of you as one of his own. It's a very bittersweet day for me, saying goodbye to great friends that have worked so hard for the council, Councillor Borrego, Councillor Harris, Councillor Gibson, and of course, Lan, who has graciously taken my father's seat and done a tremendous job. And for that, I will forever be thankful. And again, on behalf of the Sanchez family, thank you, Elaine. Thank you, everyone. You all mean the world to us, and we're very blessed to have you.
Thank you, Jackie. Mr. Worrell? Jerry?
Thank you. Thank you. I'm not going to be formal tonight. I'm going to be very informal because this is the time when I have to be honored that Councillor Sena asked Frida and I to speak. And I'm also awed that this is the first time Frida's let me speak for her. So she's here, but she's going to let me do all the talking. I know all of you are worried about how many years of service, but I want to make everyone feel better. I attended my first city council meeting in 1957. So if you look back at to where you were, I was a 17-year-old kid addressing city councilors. That didn't go well, by the way. But anyway, to move on. In 2006, when Elaine was introduced to Tommy Borst and I at a meeting that Ken Sanchez had to find out from his district, what do you need, what do you want? We were introduced to Elaine, and councilors, of all the decisions you make, who you pick as your policy analyst is one of the most important decisions because she's the glue. She's the one that keeps us going. So when I look back at people who are no longer here to speak, whether it's Ken Sanchez or Joe Vias or Louis Tafoya or Joan Jones, this is how long we have been working together for the betterment of the city of Albuquerque. And not only has Elaine made the city of Albuquerque City Council a better place, she has made the state of New Mexico and the world a better place just because of what she does. And if you look back at what do we get from Elaine, she always tells us the truth. We may not want to hear it, but she does say it. She includes us all. She never leaves anybody out. So we're all involved in the decisions that have to be made. And she really is hoping that what we're doing is going to benefit everybody, not just one particular person, but everybody. And we know that it's what she's aiming for is try to build goodwill among all of us when we're done with that decision and we have to live with it. Now, everybody has claimed that they have adopted Elaine. I want everyone to know that Elaine is a member of the Worrell family. She has the keys to the house. She's been in here more times than I care to count. And Elaine, I'm going to leave you with this, kid. Stop blubbering, clean your room. Thanks.
Oh, thank you, Jerry Worrell and Frida. We are moving on to Mike. Mike, are you there?
I'm Mama.
And there's her son.
Your son. I wanted you to know that I love you very much and that you inspire me every day to become a better person. I'm glad to call you my mom, and I'm so thankful for everything that you do for our family and for this beautiful community. I'd also like to thank everyone on this call that has helped my mom along her journey in the council. And congratulations on 14 years, Mom. I love you and I'm proud of you.
Madam President, City Councilors.
Jose, is that you? Jose?
Yeah, so it's 2 for 1. Just wanted to be brief and just say that, Elaine, you're an amazing woman. You're loved by so many people. And you and Ken Sanchez just did such amazing things for the community. I saw the other end. I saw you get home tired and exhausted from a day's work and just giving everything to the community. And, you know, you managed family, soccer, and work. And you are my hero. You're our rock. We love you so much. And we are so proud of you. And there is one more person that couldn't be here, but wanted to say something. And I'm just going to put him on briefly.
Elena, my friend and my sister, I am so sorry that I can't be there with you today next to you, because I know this day is probably going to be a day full of emotions, but know that I'm there in spirit and giving you a tight virtual hug. Just for the sake of everyone's time, what an incredible journey you've had. You and Ken were just a dynamic duo, and I got to see so many things and so incredible things, and I'm so honored to have been part of that journey, and the special bond that you had it's just unmatched. And the things that you both did for the community and the passion, the dedication, the extended hours. I mean, we were on the road, we were anywhere, and you were there talking to people.
And I had to cut it short because it was very long, Madam President. But thank you, councilors, for your time. And thank you.
I love you, Mom.
Thank you for joining us. Okay, we're going to move on to Councillor Senna.
Thank you, Madam President. Just in closing, I know that we have a very long agenda and I want to wrap this up. Of course, I know that, and for the public that's not aware as well, Elaine is going to be serving our community in a different capacity. And I know that she'll always be there for Council District 1, but it was important for me to, as one of somewhat of my last act, to really recognize her, because I think that as a council, we recognize just the hard work that our policy analysts do for us. We wouldn't be a council without them, without our staff. And I certainly am not a councilor without Elaine. And so I think that, you know, as I mentioned, sometimes it was 16-hour days in working, and that was also Elaine's 16-hour day working. And anytime a constituent, even when they needed a mattress or they were short on food, she and I were running around on Craigslist, Facebook markets, just trying to find the things that our community needed. Whether it was me picking up a stray dog or her picking up a stray dog, we oftentimes would be hand in hand chasing that dog together. So I just want to recognize her tremendous work over the last 16 years to the council district and to our community, to our city, and of course, thanking our staff for pulling this off together, and also recognizing their own colleague on council services for what she has done. So I just want to thank everyone who was able to contribute to this proclamation, many of them having written the lines themselves. So thank you, Madam President, for also giving me that honor and privilege to recognize Elaine.
Councillor, there's two individuals that are sitting here and they are identified as Maury. Is that someone wanting to speak on behalf of Elaine? Because I'll allow it because I didn't see them earlier.
Yes, Madam President. So Mari and Gilbert, and of course, there's also Linda Sanchez here and Tamara Sanchez. There are also extensions of our Ken Sanchez's family.
Okay, would you all care to speak briefly?
Yes, and I'm sorry, you know what, this is my first Zoom meeting and it was on the phone. I think I was sideways earlier, but this is Gilbert, Ken's brother. Linda's here with me also, but I don't know if you can scoot in. Sorry, we're all over here we couldn't get our microphone to work or anything, but you know what? We wanted to thank Elaine and Lan. Well, first of all the city councilors for, you know what, for all the love and support they gave us during this difficult time. You know, when we lost Ken, it was really, really hard for us. And you guys all really helped in supporting our family. And Elaine, you know, we just love her. She was such a great advocate, or is a great advocate to the city. And she was an amazing policy analyst to help everybody, you know, with everything that we needed. And she did an amazing job with everything that she did. Linda's here too.
Yeah, I also want to thank all the city councilors for all the work they do. I know how hard you work for all the years that I was with Ken and I saw what he did. It's almost like you probably make 25 cents an hour. I don't think you get paid enough to do what you do. So I want to thank all of you for all your work and all your dedication to the city. We couldn't do it without you. And also, Elaine, I don't even know what to say because you weren't just Ken's policy analyst, you were our family. You're a friend, you're a family, and I can't thank you enough for everything you did. You always kept him in line, even when he gave you dirty looks, and you know the look I'm talking about, right? I promise I'll never give you that look when you ask a question. But we love you so much, Elaine, and I can't thank you for, I mean, you're just amazing. There are no words, you're just amazing. So thank you, my friend, I love you, and Merry Christmas and a blessed New Year to all of you, to all the counselors, and to you, Elaine, and to your family, we love you. Thank you.
Thank you. And I see one more person, Tamara Sanchez. Tamara, you're
muted.
Unmute.
Okay, can you hear me there?
Yes.
Okay. So Elaine, I just want to say thank you for all you've done for my uncle and for our family. You're like the sister that I never had, so I appreciate that. And you're a true blessing to the family. You've been with us every step of the way through the best times, also the hardest of times. I wish you all the best in life. All life has to offer for you because you are one of a kind. And also, Nico wanted to say congratulations and come to your proclamation today.
Thank you.
Council President.
Elaine, yes, go ahead.
I just, I especially want to say thank you to Ken's family for being here and allowing me to continue to be part of their family. They're such a big part of my life. And I pray they always will be, every single one of them. Because without them, I'm definitely a complete void without Ken. And last, I do want to say thank you to all of my colleagues. This job definitely would not be possible without everyone I work with, from our director to every policy analyst to our receptionist, the people that clean our offices and say goodbye to us at the end of the night. I can't thank you all enough for being my family and again loving me. I could go on for days. I know you have a meeting. Thank you guys all, and thank you, Tara, for bringing Nico too. I love you guys. I love everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Elaine. And God bless. I also want to quickly, councilors, acknowledge two additional people. And Councillor Harris, before you leave, I want to acknowledge my assistant, Susan V. Hill. and one of the persons that I would not have been able to make it through this past year without my policy analyst, who's been, you know, just my right hand. She's so organized and loyal, a little bit of an introvert, but I've managed to kind of pull her out a little bit. For those of you who don't know her, she's very creative, beautiful poetry, and she plays the harp beautifully. So if you ever have some sort of an event that you'd like to have some beautiful music, she plays the harp just beautifully. So I just want to thank from the bottom of my heart, Susan V. Hill and Councillor Harris. I know you want to acknowledge Laura Rumler. So did you want to say just a few words about your assistant? You're muted, Councillor.
How's that? That better? Yeah, along the same lines, I've heard many people say that one of the most important decisions that you make, maybe the most, is your policy analyst, because without that person, I mean, you're really sort of at a loss, because you're just bombarded with emails and phone calls, and you need someone there to actively filter and help direct you in the right direction to really do what's best for your district, and to really get on the ground and know you know, who the players are, and to help you navigate. Because as Councillor Sanchez said often, is that you're at the height of your popularity when you win your election, and then immediately you have to start making decisions. And as soon as you start making decisions, you're making a difference. As soon as you start making a difference, you're making people mad. One thing, a city councilor in general, but certainly our policy analysts, they don't get very many attaboys. That's not why people call them. They call them to tell us, to tell them what mistakes we're making, and why there's such terrible choices, and why we're bad people, et cetera, et cetera. And one thing that our policy analysts do is they actually are able to oftentimes turn these people into at least neutral, sometimes advocates, when they understand just how difficult our positions are and how difficult it is to make public policy. So yeah, Laura's been amazing, and she's going to do amazing things in the future. I'm certain of it. So thanks for that opportunity, Madam President.
Thank you, Councillor Harris. So with that, councillors, I know this has been a difficult, emotional, joyous, all of the spectrum of emotions. But with that, we're going to go ahead and move on with our business. And I want to thank everyone for all of your comments today on behalf of all of us who are leaving, those of us who are staying. And I think the bottom line is that we all want a better city, and we're all working together to try to make that happen. So I look forward to the future and to what the public does in terms of giving us advice, because we do listen to the public and we do listen to that advice. That advice is very important because that helps us set our policy. It also helps us make our daily decisions and our monthly, weekly, semi-weekly, whatever. Keep the information coming. It's important to us. I am going to move on with that statement to our item number, well, first of all, item number 4, which we do not have an economic development discussion. So I'm going to move on to item number 10, which is our general public comments, councilors, and resume our natural order of business here. And for those of you who are joining us to provide live public comment, we welcome you. We also received written comments that were distributed to the councilors in advance of today's meeting. Members of the public will be able to address the council if they have signed up for live public comment per the instructions published on the agenda and on our website on Friday. Speakers will be moved into the meeting room 2 at a time. They will remain muted with their camera off until they are called upon to speak, at which point they can turn on the camera, unmute themselves, and they will have 1.5 minutes to provide comments to the City Council. After that, they will again be muted and return to be an attendee of the Zoom webinar. Here are the public comment ground rules. Each participant has 1.5 minutes to present. Comments are to be addressed to the councilors only through the council president. Any disruptive conduct will result in removal of the Zoom webinar. So Mr. Julian Moya will be assisting me in the general public comments. And with that, Mr. Moya, would you like to give us the name of the first speaker?
Thank you, Madam President. Our first speaker is Alan Reed. Alan, please feel free to unmute yourself. You can be promoted to a panelist if you accept that, and your time will begin when you start speaking. Madam President, looks like Mr. Reed might not be quite connected yet, so we'll move on. Our next speaker will be Barbara Baca. Barbara, please feel free to turn your video back on, unmute yourself, and your time will begin when you start speaking.
Thank you, Madam President and members of the council. My name is Barbara Baca. I'm the former Parks and Recreation Director and former open space planner for the city of Albuquerque. I'm speaking in opposition of 079 today, which proposes to access the principle of the Open Space Trust Fund. The Open Space Trust Fund was created almost 40 years ago, and it is truly the cornerstone of the open space program, and it is at risk of being dissolved, as is the trust held by many of the open space advocates of our community. As you all know, the city manages about 30,000 acres of major public open space, but we're not done yet. There are still some important properties to be acquired. The Open Space Advisory Board has the responsibility of citizen oversight and provides an important advisory role to the City Council and the mayor. The advisory board has been addressing issues associated with the future of the trust fund, to protect it in perpetuity and possibly to invest it to get a better return on that investment. And they need the opportunity to continue that work. The public deserves to review the ramification of reducing the trust fund to an acquisition fund that could be incidental property acquisition as allowed in this resolution as it's written. So I urge you and ask you to either vote this resolution down or, ordinance, or defer it to the Open Space Advisory Board and the Land Use Planning and Zoning Committee of the Council. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. We'll go back to Mr. Alan Reed. Mr. Reed, please feel free to turn your video on, unmute yourself, and your time will begin when you start speaking. Mr. Reed, you are muted if you want to go ahead and unmute yourself.
I'll try it again.
There you go.
Does that work? Good. Madam President, councilors, good afternoon. When we were planning and assembling the open space system in the first place, we often heard a complaint that we should take all the money and buy land right then because it was going to be more expensive later on. If we had done that, we'd have 2 or 3 additional parcels, all of which we've probably now acquired at some point along the way, and we'd have no money. So it wouldn't have amounted to much of a system. The trust fund then was assembled and launched based on the temporary tax that we had. And by about 1990, it was running according to plan. And we were selling the exchange lands, we were assembling the corpus of the fund, and it was growing steadily and well above the inflation rate of any land parcels that we were interested in. And in that 25 years following 1990, that fund produced $22 million for the open space system. I don't think that that's chicken feed. I think that it demonstrates the value of having a 50 to 100 year perspective on what the open space system is going to need. If the
Madam President, if I may.
Councillor Benton.
Thank you, Madam President. Alan Reed, as those of you who don't know, is a former city councilor who was really important to the inception of this program. If we could give him just another minute to finish his thoughts, I'd be appreciative. Thank you.
Dr. Reed?
Thank you, Madam President. Yeah, I just had one or two other points to consider. I know that Bill 079 looks like it would be a reasonable and a thoughtful approach to the future use of the fund. But if it passes, it will remove the limits on how the funds are used and the oversight that's provided by the Open Space Board. And one of the other objectives we had, in addition to beating inflation and building a fund that was large enough, was to prevent the political manipulation of the fund. And the damage that can cause was demonstrated in 2004 when former Councillor Cadigan led the way in taking 10 million out of the fund and buying a couple of pieces of land. It was a disaster. And the reason the fund is not larger now and the reason it's not raising more money is because of that. But even if we start with the 12 million that's currently there, it can continue to grow. It can continue to finance a large part of itself and the open space system. So I urge you to defer Bill 079 to January so that OSAP and interested parties can engage in a really thorough analysis of what the system needs. I'm in favor of some reforms and some improvements in the open space trust fund as well as the system as a whole. And we can get to those if you give us time in January. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Reed.
Your next speaker is Justin Snyder. Justin, please feel free to turn your video on, unmute yourself, and your time will begin when you start speaking.
Justin Snyder, item R
Mr. Snyder, we are getting a lot of reverberation from you. Is there anything that you have on that maybe is causing that?
Yes, Mr. Snyder, looks like you kind of just have a bad connection. Maybe turn off your video and maybe just try the audio. Maybe that'll help it.
How about that?
Looks better.
You sound a little better. Yeah, please proceed. Madam President, looks like we actually lost Mr. Snyder. I'll keep an eye out for him to let him back in. But in the meantime, we'll move on to the next speaker. Next speaker is Julia Fong. Julia, please feel free to turn your video on, unmute yourself, and your time will begin when you start speaking.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. Can you hear me? And council members. I'm a resident of West Mesa, and it was very disturbing when the little boy got hit by Tingley Beach. I was in my car, and it was quite disturbing. And I'm just really concerned, and I'm looking at, many of the neighbors were wondering, where are the police? Where are the speed traps? Where are the speed cameras? It wasn't something that we wanted to drive up on, but we were there. And on the west side, there are many of these off-road vehicles that drive up and down. They go through Pat Hurley Park.
When it comes to these UTVs, I've been in conversations with our area commanders, especially our new area commanders. As you know, that Commander Espinoza, as well as Commander Sanchez, they both retired And so we're getting new command leadership here on the west side. So I'll follow up with you certainly to discuss this, but I know that we are all concerned, especially of some of the issues that we saw. And, I know that our council recognized also and shared a moment of silence for the young Batachara who was murdered. So thank you.
Yes. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Fong, for coming this evening.
Our next speaker is Kevin Bean. Kevin, looks like you're kind of connected twice here, and one may be having an issue, but if you can, feel free to put your video on and unmute yourself, and your time will begin when you start speaking.
Are we having a problem?
Here I am, Madam Chair, members of the council. Hey, I'm really glad I tuned in today. It was really great to hear everybody talking personally about everybody else. It was really nice. I really enjoyed it. And I just wanted to say thank you to all of you for your service, especially the outgoing counselors. Good luck with whatever you head into next. And I look forward to working with the council in the future and the coming year. Build Back Better looks like it's down for the count. So it's up to the city and it's up to the county and it's up to the state to pick up the ball. So thank you very much. Really enjoyed the meeting today.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you
for joining us.
Looks like Mr. Justin Snyder's back with a better connection. So Mr. Snyder, if you want to go ahead and proceed.
Mr. Snyder?
Yeah, thank you very much. Now I want to echo that. It's been very nice to listen to all this. Regarding item number R21-225, the development agreement for the UNM South Campus TID, which was first introduced in front of this council a few years ago as the UNM Sports Entertainment District, and at the time was lauded as being by the applicant as the only public partner or tax increment district partnership in the country. And it's a dreamer. It's great to hear new creative ideas, but as a pragmatist, you have to ask yourself, why is that? Why has this not happened elsewhere? With this in mind, I reviewed the development agreement in front of us today. I wanted to understand how the agreement handled the complexities of such an issue and why it had failed elsewhere. In addition, I bumped the agreement, today's agreement, with past agreements, development agreements that the city has entered into prior, such as the Mesa del Sol agreement. When comparing the 16 font, double-spaced, 6-page agreement in front of you today versus the 12 font, single-spaced, 22-page agreements in the past, obviously you can note the omissions. The omissions most notably from termination, default, and escape clauses that would protect the taxpayers should they find themselves engaged in dealings with the applicant that they no longer wish to do business. Also curious in this agreement is an inclusion of a repeller clause, which is section 6, that basically sidesteps the city's own TID ordinances. What is left is an arrangement where we, the taxpayers, are to give hundreds of millions of dollars to a third-party entity that may be exempt from our very own rules and regulations to enter into a TID that, through this proposed development, will bypass our own city's TID ordinances and where we have no protection devices in place. I find that concerning, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Richard Barish. Richard, please feel free to turn your video back on, unmute yourself, and your time will begin when you start speaking.
Madam President and councilors, I'm Richard Barish. I'm here today on behalf of the Sierra Club Central New Mexico Group to comment on O2979, the bill that would amend and effectively abolish the Open Space Trust Fund. I want to note that, first of all, the Sierra Club is appreciative of Councillor Harris's efforts on behalf of the city's open space network. However, this bill is being rushed through at the end of the year, and it was drafted without input from the Open Space Advisory Board. While changes to the Open Space Trust Fund ordinance may be appropriate, in particular, I think we need to look at a way to get a better return on that principle if the fund is maintained. Abolishing a fund that was designed to be perpetual is a matter that deserves more thorough consideration and consultation and agreement among the interested parties. The Sierra Club accordingly recommends and supports what other commenters have said, that the bill be referred to the Land Use Planning and Zoning Committee for further consideration and action next year. I also want to urge Council to support President Borrego and Councilor Sena's bill R21-228 to look at an open space trail system for the open space lands located on the volcanic escarpment. And finally, I just wanted to add my thanks to the outgoing councilors and staff for their years of service to the city. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Richard. Madam President, there was a couple others that signed up but didn't show up to the meeting, so that will conclude public comments.
Thank you, Mr. Moya. I'm going to get a handle on these mutes and unmutes before this is over. So councilors, that concludes our public comment period. We will move on to administration question and answer. And I understood that we might have some councilors that didn't submit questions, but might be interested in asking those questions. Councilor Bassan.
Thank you, Madam President. My apologies for not submitting in advance, but I do have two quick questions. One question for administration is regarding, I had a constituent reach out, someone that I know about, that I know personally, but they reached out and they have a business down in Councilor Benton's district that had a homeless encampment on an easement, and they were trying to notify the city and trying to get it cleaned up, and they were told that they had to be with the responsible party to do so. But then the code enforcement ended up telling them that they were going to get fined if they didn't remove these individuals, but it was a city easement. It's since been rectified, but I would like an update on how we're going to make sure that this is not going to be an ongoing problem. I think that it could be a danger for both the unhoused who might need actual services, who are not getting that treatment if we're not going out as a city to help them, as well as the private business owners or private property owners who could be putting themselves or could potentially be causing harm or whatnot. I don't think that we should leave it up to individuals. So I just wanted to have some clarification on what we were going to do about that in the future, please.
I'm going to go to the mayor's conference room.
Madam President and Councilor Bassan, thank you for the question. Let me preface a couple of things, and then I'll turn it over to Alan Varela, our planning director, to give you a little more detail about how code enforcement approaches these issues, and for any further clarification. As you all know, councilors, if the right-of-way is a public right-of-way, whether it's a city public right-of-way or a New Mexico Department of Transportation right-of-way, et cetera, anything that's a public right-of-way, we obviously, it's our responsibility as a city to make sure that we're getting out there and cleaning up the situation, whether it's an illegal dumping of any kind of debris, or whether it's a homeless camp or what have you. In all of our easements and right-of-ways, councilors, that are public easements and right-of-ways, it is our responsibility, and upon notification from property owners, councilors, neighborhoods, et cetera, we try and get to all of them as quickly as possible, either using our folks at solid waste or DMD or any of the other departments that are involved, because we have a multi-pronged approach from all the city departments that can support ensuring, especially as we deal with the encampment issues and the homelessness issues. Right away that's owned by the DOT. In some cases, we do have some agreements with the DOT where our folks can go in to resolve, or at least move people along and clean up the areas, such as underneath the interstate bridges, et cetera. If it's along the railroad tracks, that is also owned property by the New Mexico Department of Transportation. And Rio Metro, believe it or not, under their agreement with Rail Runner, has a crew that goes out there and cleans those areas along the railroad tracks, as they may become a hazard for the Rail Runner operations or Amtrak or what have you, and also to the folks that might be camping next to the tracks because of the federal regulations. So we have connections with them as well, and we try and get them out there as quickly as possible. However, if it's encampments or issues associated with folks being in private property, I'm going to turn it over to Alan Varela and so he can give you a perspective in terms of how his code enforcement folks go about notifying owners and how that cleanup effort is set up. So Alan, if you wouldn't mind chiming in now as it relates to this issue, that'd be great.
And yes, with your permission, Council President.
Yes, Mr. Varela, go ahead.
Thank you. Councilor Bassan, good question. Number one, we do want to reiterate that we did make a mistake in the first instance. We thought that particular encampment was located on private property. When we learned that it was not on private property, then we quickly, as fast as we could, corrected the error and contacted the right authority that owned the actual right of way, the public entity, and so that was cleaned up. So, but we do admit that we made an error in that regard, and we're sorry that happened, and we'll do a better job going forward. And so, when it is on private property, what we are hoping is that the owner has posted no trespassing signs on that property. That makes it a lot easier because then the planning department, in conjunction with APD and Family and Community Services and the Community Safety Department, can reach out to the people that are experiencing homelessness and that have the camp set up on that posted private property. APD and the department can remove them, and the city attempts to provide services and resources to those people during that process. But it is much better if the people have their property posted, and then we can help with that. Any illegal dumping that takes place on private property is the responsibility of the private property owner. However, if there's a unique circumstance there, then I'm sure the city and solid waste would be willing to take a look at those on a case-by-case basis, especially if, for example, the city it somehow inadvertently, aided in the situation that resulted in the illegal leaving of trash or garbage or other items on the property.
Thank you, Director, and thank you, Mr. Rail. I appreciate too the candor with noticing that it was a mistake. I know this particular person has said they were contacting the city 8 weeks in a row to ask for help. So I really hope that we are doing something more proactive when we do have that kind of communication. So I do, and I will say that they also followed up by saying that response for cleanup and assistance was very rapid once they contacted my office, but it's just, we don't want to have anybody do that. So I do have another question, Madam President, but I see that Councillor Gibson might have something related.
Okay. Councillor Davis? He's not on.
My question is about a different topic, Madam President, so however you'd like to proceed.
Okay, I'd like to go to Councillor Gibson first then.
Okay, thank you.
It's related.
Thank you. So sort of a parallel question, or at least something that's very related to this, is when we're talking about cleaning up an encampment, either using solid waste or any other means, where are the inhabitants being sent? Are they being sent to any particular place, or any local nonprofit advocate group, or where are we sending them?
Madam President, Carol Pierce from our Family Community Services Department can talk to you along with our ACS department in terms of the services that we provide when we encounter folks out there. So if Carol could respond, that would be great.
Thank you, Madam President Borrego and Lawrence and Councillor Gibson. So according to our encampment policy, when somebody's in immediate danger, meaning they're in an encampment and their encampment is falling over into the street or really close to a railroad track, something that's really immediate danger, they're removed immediately. and they're being directed to different services and finding out where are they currently connected. In the instance when they're not in immediate danger, they're given really a 72-hour notice to say, you know, this isn't a place for encampments. And then our ACS partners are the ones, when our first encampment people are the first one to give the notice, ACS follows to really offer more resources and connection back to one of the nonprofits that they're connected with. We had a really good example this weekend on a unhoused individual, very familiar, and ACS was able to do a really good job, but given it was the weekend, there weren't folks to connect him with. He remained on site. We were working with the businesses. They helped keep him in place, and then was getting back connected to HopeWorks today. So that individual remained in place. They weren't in immediate danger. We were in conversation with the business and the church where they were located. So that's usually how that process works.
Okay, so thank you for that. And I think you know what I'm really asking is, even after the 72 hours, you know, we break up encampments, you know, we pick up litter, and I don't think anybody was really throwing personal items away on purpose, but I'm sure that happens too. But we're just telling them, the unsheltered, the unhoused people, that they can't stay there. But there, to my knowledge, there is not a legal place for them to sleep outdoors. So this is a question that I've been asking. You know, you and I have had this conversation many times in the past, and it's a question that, you know, we're going to be asked this, and we're going to be asking ourselves this in years to come. So, you know, we need to have what, you know, is now being called safe open spaces. Not just one, not just two, but we need them all over the city. And then, you know, then we can say, I'm sorry, you cannot sleep on this doorstep or in this alley or in this park or Arroyo or whatever, but there is a place where you can go. And until we can do that, the way we're handling it now is just, it's immoral. It's immoral. So, and I think that's a, you know, I don't use that word lightly, and I'm not blaming anybody in particular. I'm just saying that we've been ignoring this question for years. And that Carol or director, I'd love to hear.
Yeah.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are resuming our regular programming for City Council meeting this evening. And I'm being told that I have some staff waiting, and I'd rather try to get that particular item off the table. This is item G I'm going to start with, which is Councillor Bassan's item 085. And this is Councillor Bassan. Do you want to just go ahead and read what it is, and we'll move forward?
Sure. Thank you, Madam President. 085 is authorizing the issuance and sale of the City of Albuquerque, New Mexico tax-exempt industrial revenue bonds for Hope Christian Schools Incorporated project Series 2022 in the maximum principal amount of $8.5 million. And according to bond counsel, we need to read some language into the record on the matter. If
yes,
it's my understanding, you're going to do that.
Yes, thank you, Councilor Bassan. So for this particular item, we have some special directions from our bond counsel. TEFRA hearing for Hope Christian Schools Incorporated ordinance. This hearing has been called pursuant to section 147F of the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 as amended, concerning the proposed issuance by the City of Albuquerque, New Mexico of its tax-exempt industrial revenue bond in the amount of $8,500,000 for the Hope Christian Schools Incorporated project. Notice of this hearing was published in the Albuquerque Journal on December 13th, 2021. The bonds are to be issued to refinance existing debt that finance the acquisition, construction, and improvement and equipment of new educational facilities for Hope Christian Schools. The project will be located in the City of Albuquerque at 8001 and 8005 Louisiana Avenue Northeast and 6721, 6731, and 6800 Palomas Avenue Northeast. The purpose of this hearing is to give the public an opportunity to comment and ask questions concerning the proposed issue of bonds so that the City Council may consider such information. After all comments have been submitted, the City Council will consider the adoption of a bond ordinance authorizing issuance of the bonds for the project. This hearing is now open to questions and comments. Do we have any comments or questions? Do we have comments or questions regarding the hearing? Mr. Muirhead, I see that, Councilor Bassan.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to, when it was appropriate, I just want to make sure to move a do pass.
Thank you, Councilor Bassan, for that do pass, and I'll second that. It appears that we have Mr. Chris Muirhead, our bond attorney, on the line, and I don't know if there's anyone else that's signed up to speak. Mr. Moya? There is an additional person. So before we go to our other public speaker, we're going to go to our bond attorney, and then we'll come back, and there is a gentleman that is signed up to speak. Mr. Muirhead.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. This bond, just to reiterate, as it's going through, is not an obligation of the city. It is a conduit bond for the benefit of Hope Christian Schools, which is a federally tax exempt 501c3 entity. They can borrow on a tax exempt basis, but they have to do it through a governmental entity. So the city is providing this service for them. It is not an obligation of the city in any respect. The city is not providing any additional economic incentives. There are people, and I think I heard, Madam President, people here from Hope Schools. If you have a question about it, it is refinancing the construction of a new educational building that is on Louisiana and Paseo. And they can give you a little more background, but this allows them to refinance that debt on a tax exempt basis at a lower interest rate savings.
Mr. Muirhead, if I might ask, what is that interest rate?
They are working with BBVA Compass, which has been acquired by PNC. The interest rate, if I recall, is under 4%. That results in about $800,000 in savings over the 10 years of the bond compared to what it would be on a taxable basis.
Thank you so much. Any questions? Councillor Davis.
Thanks, Madam President. Mr. Muirhead, Madam President and Mr. Muirhead, if you could just help me a little bit. For a long time, the city has sort of stayed away from IRBs, and I know we sort of broke that egg not long ago on some big projects. Netflix, I think, was the first one that we've done in a long time, if I remember right. But doing it for 501c3s for nonprofits is a little different than doing it for big job creating entities with lots of equipment. Can you talk to me? And I'm not critical of this at all, and I don't want to prolong our meeting very much, but this is weird. We don't do this often, and we really haven't, with the exception of Roadrunner Food Bank with their solar project, we haven't done this in 20 years. Can you tell me a little bit about how this works for nonprofits and how it's different?
Yes, Madam President, Councillor Davis, excellent question. You're right. This is not a deal that is driven by economic incentives for your industrial revenue bond that you would normally see with job creation and industry. The Internal Revenue Code, so at a federal level, requires that a local government do it. How the state has addressed that is to provide for these kind of financings under the Industrial Revenue Bond Act. So that's where you see it, and that's where it comes up. But you're exactly right. It is not a traditional industrial revenue bond for that you would see that we've seen over the last 5 years for Netflix and some others coming through. Roadrunner Food Bank is the most recent, and before that, I agree with you. I'm not aware of anything for a number of years. They have options of going through the county, the city, or another governmental entity, and so in both of these cases, they've chosen to go through the city. But it is not a common. You see it a lot in charter schools through APS and other ones that have 501c3 foundations, and they go through generally of all things, a Wisconsin Public Finance Authority that issues these bonds. But you don't see it a lot and then hospitals, you see it also, but there's a Hospital Equipment Loan Council that does that. So here with Roadrunner Food Bank and Hope Schools, they fall in an area where there is not a dedicated conduit issuer. So the city is a logical choice, but it is not a common financing. And the reason that it even comes up under the concept of an industrial revenue bond is just that's where the New Mexico statutes have put it.
Thank you, Mr. Muirhead and Madam President. If I could follow and just say, or ask a follow-up, that makes sense to me. I like the idea of supporting our nonprofits. I want to just ask, though, there are lots of charter schools. Once we do one, everybody's going to take a look. Like we know we have the Public School Finance Authority and other things. Like, what's the impact of all of these nonprofits using this? I mean, they're already, most of them, if they're on, I mean, if they're in leased property, that's a different ballgame. But if they're buying property, we're already not getting some of the property tax revenue. Like, what's the fiscal impact to the city or the government in terms of issuing these bonds?
There is no fiscal impact to the city. The fiscal impact would be to the federal government. So the interest earnings for a bondholder are going to be tax exempt that would normally flow to the federal government. So the city doesn't lose any economic benefit, and they're not giving any additional incentives. Generally, you have to have a financing of a fairly sizable number, 5 million plus, to justify the legal expense and other expenses of doing a tax exempt debt. So they clear that threshold at 8 million, but smaller deals, you wouldn't see it do it because it just doesn't pencil out as worth the trouble. But the real gain is on a federal level, that they're not paying federal income tax, the holders of the bond.
That makes sense to me. Thank you, Mr. Muirhead. I appreciate that. I think it's an interesting strategy, especially for nonprofits of some stature or some level to really reap some benefits for their capital. It's interesting. I've not seen it done before, and I appreciate it. Madam President, and maybe I know this was by request, so maybe I just want to ask the administration just generally about the application process here. And again, I'm not being critical. I'm trying to learn because we're going to get a lot more of these once we do this one. Mr. Real, I suspect this might be in your wheelhouse a little bit.
Mr. President, Madam President.
What's our gating criteria for schools? And I suspect I'm not sure that we should use a gating criteria about whether they are a religious school or some other type of school. But it is we're gonna get questions about why this is a religious institution or religious school. Can you talk to me a little bit about the city's gating criteria for evaluating this?
Madam
Mr.
President,
Royale, go ahead.
Madam President and Councillor, interestingly enough, back in my earlier career in city government, we did finance several private schools. The New Mexico, for example, the Sandia Prep got one of these IRBs some time ago. If I'm not mistaken, the Bosque School on the west side was also issued some IRBs. So we've had schools in the past that have used this this process to, as Mr. Muirhead said, to really benefit the school by getting a better interest rate. This particular one was a very unusual one. We have not seen very many come. In fact, as Mr. Muirhead said, I think in the 4 years that we've been here, this has been the only school that has even come and approached the city. And I suspect they did it because they went to, these private schools all talk to each other, obviously. So to be honest about it, because we haven't had very many, we didn't have necessarily a gating criteria as such. But I will say to this that having worked with charter schools, as Mr. Muirhead said, charter schools aren't quite frankly in the same structure and the same stature as some of these long-term private financed facilities like the Academy, like Hope Christian and or some of the others. So it really doesn't pencil out for these charter schools to use this process, because they should be going really to the state mortgage finance authority and having the state mortgage finance authority help them, because they get better rates out of the state than they do, or sometimes some of the public school boards finance it. So to answer your question straight up, this has been the first one that we've gotten in the 4 years that I've been here. So we really haven't really seen many folks availing themselves of this.
Thank you, Madam President, for the time, and thank you, Mr. Real. Yeah, I suspect that once someone's cracked that egg, someone else is going to show up and want to do the same. But I mean, it doesn't really impact the city. We're not on the hook for it. It's just an interesting piece that I haven't seen before, and certainly one that I think bears conversation with some of our other institutional nonprofits about how we can help them be more successful and put more dollars into their services or improve educational outcomes, whatever. So thank you, Madam President, for the time. I won't delay us any longer this evening.
Thank you, Councillor Davis. I agree with you, Councillor Davis. I've never seen this before either. Councillor Benton.
Yeah, I guess I am puzzled by this. So any qualifying nonprofit, in theory, could apply for this, Mr. Muirhead?
Yeah, Madam President, Councillor Benton. So the way it works, if you are a federally recognized nonprofit, 501c3 nonprofit, the Internal Revenue Code does give you the benefit of borrowing on a federally tax exempt basis. Interestingly, it doesn't allow you to do it directly. That's why we have this little hiccup here. So they come to the city or they come to another governmental entity to do it. But really the key is being a federally recognized 501c3. Okay. I would say, I think many years ago, before my time, Levita Yena may have done a deal through the city. They now go through the Hospital Equipment Loan Council, which is maybe closer to this, where you have a religious-backed organization at Levita Yena, which is a kind of a conglomerate of faith-based groups that run that. And I think in the late 1990s they did that. But yeah, it's a rarity that you see it, because either they have a specialized entity, whether it be the Hospital Loan Council, or they have an entity that maybe has an easier process that like if it is this Wisconsin Public Finance Authority, it may be an easier process to go through, so they use that. But yeah, you don't see it a lot.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Any other questions? If not, I'm going to go over to Mr. Crow, who is from Hope Christian Schools. Mr. Crow, I saw you on the line a few minutes ago. Are you still there? There you are. Thank you.
Yes, I am. Madam President and councilors, I just wanted not to prolong this meeting any further, but just wanted to express our sincere thanks, and especially to Mr. Muirhead for his help guiding us through this process. It was actually a suggestion of our banks to pursue this avenue to save us money on interest rates. And it really just comes down to, as Councillor Davis said, money we don't have to fundraise and take it out of our parents' and tuition payers' pockets, and money we can pour back into the school. The land that we're developing is already owned by the school. And again, just want to express my thanks, and also to Councillor Bassan and the Finance Committee and the work they did guiding us through this and talking us through it.
Thank you, Mr. Crow. Any questions of Mr. Crow or Mr. Muirhead? Before we move on, I just want to express my thanks to and my gratitude to Mr. Muirhead for the guidance he's given myself over the years regarding bonds. So thank you for that. I just wanted to recognize you.
Thank you, Councillor.
Councillor Bassan, do you have any closing remarks?
Yeah, well, actually, there's several more things, but I see in the script that we need to make sure that the hearing is closed. I don't want to go further.
Yes, I can do that. I just didn't know if you had any remarks related to what was just said.
Oh, well, I thank Mr. Crow for reaching out and working with him. And I've had a few discussions with him, but in addition to that, we do have a floor substitute that needs to be moved once the hearing is closed.
Okay. So with that, councilors, I don't see anyone else in the queue to make any other comments or questions. So I am going to close this hearing. And Councillor Bassan, do you want to move this item?
Yes, Madam President, I would like to move the floor substitute in the iPads, and I would also like to respectfully request that Mr. Muirhead help with pointing out the differences and changes of it, please.
I'll second your floor substitute, Councillor.
Yeah,
Mr.
Madam
Muirhead.
President, thank you, Councillor Bassan. Yeah, this one actually is very small. There was one section that if you look at the red line where it discusses the project and it didn't say refinance. And team of lawyers working on this. And so obviously there was somebody that caught that, and rightfully they want to make it clear it is refinancing an existing construction, not money for a new construction. So it just clarifies in one spot, making it doubly covered that it's a refinancing of debt.
Thank you for that clarification. Any comments or questions, councilors? I don't see any. We will move to Ms. Ortega for the vote on the floor sub.
Councillor Bassan.
Yes.
Councillor Benton.
Yes.
Councillor Davis.
Yes.
Councillor Gibson.
Yes.
Councillor Jones.
Yes.
Councillor Pena.
Yes.
Councillor Sena.
Yes.
Councillor Borrego.
Yes.
8-0 on the floor sub.
Thank you, councilors. So that's the floor sub passes on an 8-0. So we will go back to the original bill. Councillor Bassan.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Mr. Muirhead, for helping answer all of these questions and keeping things clear and on the up and up. I would like to urge your support.
Thank you, Councillor Bassan. With that, we will move to a vote. Ms. Ortega.
Councillor Bassan.
Yes.
Councillor Benton.
Yes.
Councillor Davis.
Yes.
Councillor Gibson.
Yes.
Councillor Jones.
Yes.
Councillor Pena.
Yes.
Councillor Sena. Councillor Sena.
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Borrego.
Yes.
8-0.
Thank you, councilors. With that, we will move back to item A, which we deferred earlier, which is Councillor Jones, 076.
Thank you, Madam President. 076 is adopting a uniform administrative code and technical codes prescribing minimum standards regulating the construction, alteration, moving, repair, and use and occupancies of buildings and structures and building service equipment and installations. I move it do pass.
Thank you, Councillor. We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a second from Councillor Sena.
Thank you, Madam President. This is by request of the administration, so I'm sure they have someone here to answer questions should we have any.
I'm going to go to the mayor's conference room. Who would like to address this?
Elaine Clark. Madam President, this is part of a rewrite when we adopted our building codes some time ago, the new code. And so Lan Clark and Alan Varela from our planning department are available to answer any questions you might have.
I'll go to Mr. Varela or Mr. Clark, who would like to. Mr. Varela?
Yes, President Borrego, thank you. The amendments, actually, this bill removes the requirement that the city be the party that conducts the annual elevator inspections. It imposes that requirement on the property owner to conduct those instead. We were looking at how to maintain safety amongst elevators and how actually to improve safety. And the city simply has not been able to keep up with the workload. There are close to 1,800 elevators that need to be inspected on an annual basis. The city is unable to do that. The city had 2 elevator inspector positions. One of them remained vacant for well over a year due to the fact that our wages don't keep up with the marketplace. If the city were to try to properly staff to keep up with doing these inspections itself, we estimate that we'd need to be offering people approximately $100,000 per year to do the elevator inspector job. On the other hand, there are certified elevator inspectors who have gone through the same certifications that the city inspectors had gone through in the past, that work for private companies, and they are fully capable of conducting proper inspections according to the American Society of Mechanical Engineering standards and those that are set forth in the building code. And so the fire code does require that the fire marshal's office check for certifications of elevator inspections. And so the fire marshal will still be able to go in and see or request a copy of the annual elevator inspection that has now been conducted by a private elevator inspector who's fully certified, as opposed to the city hoping to be able to get to it. City simply cannot keep up with the workload, and that we consider to be unsafe for the public.
Mr. Clark, did you have anything to add?
Thank you, Madam President, councilors. No, that summed it up pretty well. It's been a problematic program because of the issues that Director Varela indicated. It just really doesn't fit into what we do. It's impossible to staff, and it doesn't really change the requirement. It just moves the onus on the property owner and away from the city planning.
Thank you. Are there questions of Councillor Jones?
Actually, Madam President, thank you for indulging me. I don't have a question. I just want to say, Mr. Clark, it's been a few years since I've seen you. It's nice to realize you're still working with us. Good to see you.
Madam President, Councillor Jones, thank you.
Okay, so I do have a question, and it's with regard to liability. So currently, and I'm trying to get this clear in my mind, currently the city inspects the elevator and the fire department, I guess, signs off on that inspection. Or we have a person dedicated in the city that does that, right? So this takes it out of the city's realm, puts it into the private sector, but yet the fire department still has to check it. So I'm just a little confused about that, I guess, or just is that the right process?
And President Borrego, that's a good question. That is, to some degree, the correct process. The fire marshal's office conducts fire safety code inspections on an annual basis, and sometimes even twice per year, of generally all the commercial buildings in town. So this is one of the things that the fire department checks for, is a certified inspection that's been conducted on an annual basis.
Okay, so just out of curiosity then, I guess this is a legal question, and I don't know if Mr. Romero from AFR wants to answer this, but so if there's a faulty elevator and it's been inspected by the private sector and the city has accepted that, who's liable for that? Do I have legal maybe, or Mr. Melendres? Something that's been weighing in the back of my mind on this particular issue. So I'd like to get an answer to that.
Madam Chair, Madam President, we can ask the City Attorney Steve Aguilar to go ahead and answer that.
Mr. Aguilar, are you there?
Madam Chair, let me shed some light on this a bit, and then hopefully at this point I will try and get Mr. Aguilar. But keep in mind, I think Director Allen or Varela did describe the process before. We have city inspectors doing the inspections. We inspected them, and then the fire department certified them as part of their work. So we were totally in the liability chain, as it will, as a result of what we're proposing through this change is that a third party hired by the owners of the buildings be the inspectors of or the certifiers of the elevators, as that they operate correctly. And only when after that's done that the city fire marshal would come in and inspect those elevators to see if they work appropriately, and then put the onus and the responsibility on the private sector, i.e. the owners of the building, to repair those elevators to ensure that they're working appropriately, so that they're part of the liability as opposed to the city taking all the liability for a building they don't own and that we don't maintain. And so the idea here is to really put the emphasis back on the owners of the buildings and have only the city be the certification agency to ensure they're working correctly.
Okay, and I see Mr. Romero's hand is up. So did you want to weigh in on this?
Madam President, thank you for having me this evening. I just wanted to elaborate a little bit more. The Director Varela spoke upon. It's not going to change the way we do business from a fire department standpoint. Obviously, safety is our priority. So we're going to continue to inspect the life safety systems with all of these buildings on an annual basis. In addition to looking at those life safety systems, we're also going to look for that elevator certificate that's going to be done by that third party, like Chief Operating Officer Lawrence Rail talked about there. So it's really not going to change the day-to-day operations from AFR standpoint. I can't speak upon the legality standpoint and the liability, which it sounds like the mayor's office and Isaac Padilla have that under control in terms of getting you an answer. But from our standpoint, our viewpoint, we're going to continue to do business as normal.
Thank you, sir. So do we have Mr. Aguilar on the phone?
Madam President, I just spoke to Steve. He's having some problems with some technological problems.
Okay, well, it doesn't answer my question about liability yet. So, Mr. Melendres, can you weigh in maybe? Or Ms. Calderon?
Madam President, I think, well, first of all, I'm not actually equipped as I sit here to weigh in on this issue with any amount of reliability. I could hypothesize and maybe back it up later, but I actually see Mr. Aguilar on now, and so that'd be the appropriate place to go.
There he is. Thank you. I hope you're feeling better, Mr. Aguilar. Can you weigh in on that liability question, please?
Thank you, Councillor. I didn't hear the question, so could you please repeat it?
Yes, absolutely. So if I'm in the elevator and I'm in a 18-story building, or I don't know what's the highest we have here in Albuquerque, I'm in a large building and the elevator is faulty and someone gets hurt, who is liable?
Madam President, as a former trial lawyer, I can tell you that there are probably a number of people who I would pursue legal claims and causes of actions against. But under that hypothetical, I mean, I wouldn't know how to specifically answer that question now, but there would be a number of people who I would be exploring after a full investigation.
So I guess my question is, Mr. Aguilar, does it take the city, remove the city from that liability? And I mean, if we do this, and that's something that's been weighing in my mind since I heard about this bill. And I should have probably contacted you sooner, but I knew you were out of pocket.
Madam President, I am always available to answer questions, and folks from my team are always available for questions, but If you can more specifically pose the question you're asking now, and I'm happy to answer that.
So the question is, Mr. Aguilar, is if the inspection is taken away, is removed from the city, from the building code department, I guess, and it's placed on the owner of the building, and there is a problem with the elevator, there's, I guess we can't determine who that liability is going to weigh on.
No, and I frankly think that under that hypothetical would be improper for me to answer that, because that could raise other questions of potential liability as well. So,
okay, so my question more specifically then is, if we do this, does it remove liability from the city?
Madam President, and maybe for City Attorney Aguilar, let me describe the situation really quickly. Right now, the city, under the current process, inspects elevators in private buildings. The fire department certifies that the inspections have been done and determines that the elevators are working properly. The change with this ordinance, or this change that we're proposing, is that that inspection of elevators should be borne by the private sector. They own the buildings and they maintain their own buildings. And so the idea here is to have them do the inspections of their own elevators, and then the fire department on a yearly basis comes in and certifies them as that they've been appropriately inspected, et cetera, and they're operating correctly. Councillor Borrego's concern is, if we push the responsibility to the private sector for inspecting the elevators, does that take us out of the liability chain? And I would say that from my tenure in government is that we're never going to be completely out of the liability chain, simply because the fire department is actually certifying them, and the fire department is part of city government. However, maintaining a building and maintaining the infrastructure in the building that is not owned by the city should be the responsibility of the property owner and not the city. But for years, we've been doing it that way, and we can't keep up with the work, or we can't really hire good people to do this because it's such a specialized area. So we're trying to move this to the private sector. So that really is the crux of the question.
That is the crux of the question. Thank you, Mr. Rael. You should have been a lawyer, I think. So that totally helps me answer the question and helps me make a decision. Thank you for that. Are there any other questions from councilors on this? I don't see any. Councillor Jones to close.
I urge your support.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Ms. Ortega.
Councillor Bassan.
Yes.
Councillor Benton.
Yes.
Councillor Davis.
Yes.
Councillor Gibson.
Yes.
Councillor Jones.
Yes.
Councillor Pena.
Yes.
Councillor Sena.
Yes.
Councillor Borrego.
Yes.
8-0.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Rael, for that clarification, because I was going to vote no on that. So actually changed my mind. Okay, councilors, let's move along here. Councillor Sena, item E, and item E is R229. Councillor Sena, would you like to present this?
Yes, thank you, Madam President. R229 is denouncing xenophobia, anti-Asian American, Pacific Islander sentiments, and condemning harmful rhetoric, racist acts, and hate crimes targeting Asian Pacific Americans stemming from people's reactions to the COVID-19 pandemic. I move a do pass.
Thank you, Councillor Sena. I'll second that. Do we have any questions from councilors?
Madam President, I just wanted to...
Councillor Gibson and then Councillor Sena.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to thank the sponsor for presenting this, and I think this is a really good note to end on. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gibson. Councillor Sena?
Thank you, Councillor Gibson. I so appreciate that. I think that, once I came into council, we had a lot of fast-moving issues, especially in regards to the pandemic. And one of my first community meetings stemmed from racial attacks against our Asian American community. We still see it still to this day. In fact, many cases have risen, and the pandemic is still not over. Unfortunately, we have to have resolutions like this. However, I am grateful to not just the federal government and state and local governments for really stepping up to address this. I know that even between not just our Asian community, but also our Black community has seen a huge rise, as well as our Jewish communities in terms of hate crimes. I did want to extend my appreciation to the administration, specifically Jasmine Irazoki Ruiz, who helped me in drafting this resolution along with our community, responding to a lot of the issues that have been going on. It's really sad and unfortunate to hear that we've had specific cases even in Albuquerque, but I just want to extend my appreciation to also city legal for always stepping up to hear out those concerns, along with our many legislators who are looking at other resolutions to address these issues. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sena. Councillor Davis.
Madam President, thank you. I just want to say I appreciate Councillor Sena bringing this, and I want to share when we do good things in the city. I want us to acknowledge it. I don't want to rehash it in public, but I do want to say that these things are still happening. I had a call from a small business in Mount Hill the other day, one that I frequent, who has my cell phone number because it's on the internet and everybody shared it, good, bad, and ugly. But she called me and was really fearful because she had a phone message from someone who had seen something crazy on a particular television station and was coming to see her because she was an Asian-owned business. She doesn't speak English very well, but she's an American citizen, has done amazing, has received city grants to keep her business going. And she locked herself in her business and turned her customers away because she was scared of what would happen. And it really does happen. And I want to commend, for the administration, if they're listening, Commander Langwood, who did a fabulous job, who is really stepped up during all this to create a conversation with the Asian American business community himself through APD. And when I spoke with him about it, he was able to go and send officers to respond, followed up with her personally. And it's that kind of thing that really does make a difference in a city. And it tells us what our values are, and that people in their community, when they feel stressed or concerned, know that there's someone they can speak to. And so I do want to acknowledge and say thank you to APD. They did a good job on this one, and I want to say thank you. And thank you, Councillor Sena, for reminding us that we're not done with this yet, and there's still more work to do. And this and the language access bill that are coming next, I hope, will be very small pieces of a larger solution. So I just want to say thanks when we do a good job. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councillor Davis. Any other councillors care to comment? I also would like to thank you, Councillor Sena. I think that any hate crimes, whatever form, are never acceptable in Albuquerque in any capacity. And unfortunately, I too have seen some of those situations. I had a situation, a business owner up in the Southeast Heights who called me, and I put them in touch with the Office of Equity and Inclusion, and we filed a police report. It was a Black-owned business, and someone had called and left them a threatening message on their answering machine, which was very disturbing. And then I also received an email in the office regarding some of the work that we did with COVID to provide loans and assistance for small businesses that were Black-owned businesses. And so, you know, this is never acceptable in Albuquerque. And I think that by the council and the administration making a statement that we will not tolerate it in any shape or form is truly something that we have to continue to do. And it's unfortunate that we do, but we do. And Councillor Sena, I commend you for this. And with that, do you have any closing remarks?
Thank you, Madam President. I just, as Councillor Davis stated, this is ongoing. It is so unfortunate that we see these things. We've had elected officials gotten threats over time that are some of our first, like myself, being Asian American. We've seen doctors, members of our community threatened on the streets, and even early in the pandemic, I feared for my parents actually going to grocery stores, not necessarily so much that they would catch COVID, but rather that they would actually face a lot of anti-Asian hate and some of the just egregious crimes that we're seeing around the nation. I want to also recognize the Office of Equity and Inclusion and our Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs as well. I know that this is something that we've all kind of been working on along with our next piece of legislation. What was important in presenting this to our community, not just recognizing what we're seeing within our own communities, but what we can do as a council and as a city to really step up to address these issues. So with that, I urge your support.
And Councillor, I just wanted to recognize that we have Beatrice Valencia from the Office of Equity and Inclusion, and I think Stephanie Dominguez also is, am I, no, not Stephanie, I'm sorry. So I see Beatrice on the line. So thank you, Councillor, for that. And with that, we will move to a vote. Ms. Orteg.
Councillor Bassan.
Yes.
Councillor Benton.
Yes.
Councillor Davis.
Yes.
Councillor Gibson.
Yes.
Councillor Jones.
Yes.
Councillor Pena.
Yes.
Councillor Sena.
Yes.
Councillor Borrego.
Yes.
8-0.
Thank you, councillors. We will move to our next item, which is item F. This is sponsored by Councillor Sena, Councillor Pena, Councillor Benton, Councillor Davis, R231.
Thank you, Madam President. R231 is directing the City of Albuquerque to provide language access to make information and services more accessible to all city residents, regardless of their ability or English proficiency. I move it do pass.
Thank you, Councillor Sena. Do I have a second? I have a second from Councillor Benton. Thank you, Councillor Benton, for that second. Any comments?
Madam President?
Yes.
I also wanted to thank my co-sponsors. It's great to recognize so many diverse languages that we speak throughout Albuquerque. I think for the first time, even through the pandemic, having had town halls, 7 different languages, oftentimes we would also do that simultaneously to get information out in real time. I want to thank actually Mariela, who is the director of our community safety department. Before her position, she actually served at our Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs. And then taking on her stead, of course, was Jabez Ladrez, and then Beatrice Valencia, who has continued on. I think that in recognizing all of the languages that we speak, and even recognizing in our own state constitution of why we even state the pledge in Spanish, I think that it's important to convey information, especially that it's a federal law, in providing information in real time and regardless of English proficiency or the languages that we speak, has also been important. I also want to recognize Jasmine Irazoki Ruiz, once again, as well as Julia Kuladon from our office for working on this resolution. I think when we first started with R229 on our anti-Asian hate bill, one thing that came from community was actually providing language access services. I know that the legislature continues to struggle with that, unfortunately, and hopefully we will see that pass in this upcoming session to be put on the call or in the next session. But what's important for me is also recognizing that we need to have this information, especially in a public health emergency or not, in languages that our community knows and understand, whether it's written or spoken. I do want to recognize that also this resolution will be translated in multiple languages and to be sent out to our communities so that they also know their rights. And that's what's important as part of this legislation as well. And again, thank you to my co-sponsors for knowing and understanding the importance of our language access in all of our communities and stepping up often when the legislature is still a bit behind.
Thank you, Councillor. I have Councillor Davis, but I have a question also. Councillor Davis.
Really quickly, and again, I'm not doing this on purpose, but I do want to commend Councillor Snow on this one. You know, this is something that I started working on under the old administration. This council actually funded the very first time, I think it was 150,000 plus or minus, appropriation to buy every APD officer a cell phone so that they could access the language access line in the field. And that was our very first language access plan in the city, you know, to be deployed in the field, not necessarily having somebody call in a special number. That took us more than 2.5 years to get a plan together, fund and deploy, and then the cell phones became something totally different and they didn't even use them. And so, you know, really has been a struggle to do this and to move this forward, even though it seems pretty basic and it is the law. Getting it done is hard. And I want to acknowledge and say, and it's not a criticism that that it is not just it was not the mayor's executive order that got this started, but I do appreciate the administration for sitting down, putting pen to paper and making it a priority across all city departments instead of a piecemeal approach. And I do think this is an opportunity for us to do something and be take a leadership role in this. And so Councillor Sena, I appreciate your working on this very much. I fully expect and hope that you're still going to be around to help us finish this project because we are barely getting started, but thank you for this.
Thank you, Councillor Davis. Councillor, all of the councillors that are involved as sponsors for this bill, I just had a question, and I probably should have brought this up sooner, but is it possible to add something? And I have Chris Melendres, our attorney's looking at it really quick, but one of the things that I think about is the hearing impaired and the, you know, the blind, because we're talking about equal access. I'm wondering if we could just make it a friendly, well, maybe not a friendly amendment, but create an amendment that would add those populations as well, because this is more related to language. I mean, but that is language as well. I mean, the blind and people who can't hear, I mean, they use Braille and they use other forms. So I'm wondering if we could somehow include an amendment to that, Mr. Melendres.
Madam President, if we could actually also go to our Office of Equity and Inclusion, I think actually even prior to this meeting, we actually reached out to our American Sign Language community in terms of having this also interpreted in ASL. And so I know that in terms of figures and numbers, and even specifically what this plan could cover, because from my understanding, it would include ASL. But I just want to make sure, even in speaking there's Miss Beatrice.
So I will go to Miss Valencia, and in the meantime, Mr. Melendres is looking at the bill a little more closely to see if we need to possibly create an amendment regarding that. So Miss Valencia, good afternoon, good evening.
Yes, good evening, everybody, and Madam President Borrego and city councilors and people from the public. Well, I can tell you the good news. The bill has included as well people with disabilities. Actually, one of the harbor languages is American Sign Language. As a result, many of the considerations who are in this bill also include Braille, and also that for different type of learners that make it very inclusive, because language also is part of how everything is understood in other settings. People with disabilities that are learning disabilities, so it's very inclusive actually. So I just wanted to celebrate that. And we have other news. We have done huge, just to answer Mr. Harris, Councillor Davis, sorry, Councillor Davis. We as an office, here is our Deputy Director, Vicente Quevedo, from the Office of Equity and Inclusion. He can also bring more information, but I can tell you that the community outreach that we had done after and before for the language, when the language access for the executive order was given last September, is extraordinary. In the last year, we had about over 100 people who have taken the language access training from the city, and I'm talking about city employees. Not only that, we have at least 11 different departments who already have taken technical assistance to be able to comply with the language access plan. And many of them are also building at least 8 different language access plan drafts. So we are going in the right track. And with the support of the Office of Equity and Inclusion, we're gonna make this happen. And next year, many of the budgets are gonna include this type of thing. So thank you so much, Councillor Sena, for sponsoring this, for bringing this to light. And thank you so much, everybody. Let's go and make this happen. Let's, if my supervisor wants to talk, please go ahead. Thank you so much. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Ms. Valencia. That was very good. Good evening, Mr. Quevedo.
Quevedo, yes,
Quevedo.
thank you.
And
Council
I know you're
President,
former
yes.
city council staff, so I
Yes.
should know how to say that.
That's okay, no problem. It's been a long meeting, but you know this work is definitely worthwhile. What I wanted to just highlight within the bill, because I think Council President, your question about the various languages, the bill does cite on page 1. The second whereas clause does talk about the most common languages in the city other than English, and American Sign Language is identified there. And there's also reference at the beginning or top of page 2 that talks about the human rights ordinance that the city already has on the books. And that also does talk about equal access and prohibits discrimination on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, national origin or ancestry, age, or disability. And there's other references within the bill to those items, in addition to the outreach that Councillor Sena mentioned. So we believe it's covered, but just wanted to highlight those sections.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I just wanted to double check because I did work with the hearing impaired community earlier in my city council career. So I just wanted to make sure that everything's covered and that they're included. So thank you for that. Councillor Sena.
Thank you. And I also wanted to, highlight and just appreciate the Office of Equity and Inclusion. I know that so many of them have been involved in this, but I also wanted to make sure, just for the public's awareness as well, as part of this resolution, it also has our American Disabilities Act coordinator to work to provide technical assistance as well. So from my understanding, that also includes those that utilize ASL and Braille, and for our other communities that may have disabilities that would hinder them from accessing all of our information that the city provides.
Thank you, Councillor Sena. Do you want to close?
Thank you, Madam President. I also want to give the opportunity to my other fellow co-sponsors, because as Councillor Davis said, this is an issue that we've been working on for quite some time, even long before I came onto council, even working in the legislature to really get this passed. We're very fortunate within our state to have such a diverse community, and that's really where our strengths are. But for us as a governing body, we have to really push forward to provide services to all of our communities. So I don't want to take up too much more time. I do want to give my co-sponsors on this piece of legislation and just extend my gratitude to them for working on this with me.
Councillor Pena, Councillor Benton, or Councillor Davis, if you'd care to comment on the close, happy to have you.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm just proud to be part of this legislation. Thank you, Councillor Sena.
Thank you, Councillor Pena, Councillor Benton, Councillor Davis.
Great. Thank you, Councillor Sena, for leading us on this, and yeah, great to see it move forward.
Said enough, ma'am. Urge your support.
Thank you. With that, we'll move to Ms. Ortega to close.
Councillor Bassan.
Yes.
Councillor Benton.
Yes.
Councillor Davis.
Yes.
Councillor Gibson.
Yes.
Councillor Jones.
Yes.
Councillor Pena.
Yes.
Councillor Sena.
Yes.
Councillor Borrego.
Yes.
8-0.
Thank you, councillors. That passes on an 8-0 vote. So if you'll go to page 9 on your script, councillors, we are going to move on to item number H, which is Councillor Benton, and that's 086. Councillor Benton.
Thank you, Madam President. 086 is amending Chapter 2, Article 1 of the revised ordinances of the city relating to the operations and meetings of the City Council to repeal sections already addressed by rule or charter. I move it do pass.
Councillor Benton, it appears that you have a couple of seconds, and Councillor Sena and Councillor Sena.
Thank you. Chris Melendez can speak to this if necessary. Really, this is just kind of a cleanup of a lot of archaic language that we had. And you know, this kind of ambiguity gets baked into city government sometimes. And every now and then we get the opportunity to clean it up. And that's what this is. But I think Chris can speak if there's any specific questions about it.
Mr. Melendez, do you want to just give a quick summary?
Madam President, I think Councilor Benton summed it up. This bill is repealing some language that is duplicated elsewhere in the city code and the city charter. It has sort of fallen by the wayside with respect to updates as other sections have been updated. The provisions in this section have sort of been rendered out of date and incorrect. And so instead of updating them and continuing their duplicate nature, this bill would simply repeal them.
Thank you, Mr. Melendez, for that. Any questions, councilors? Comments? Okay, don't all speak up at once now. I know it's getting late. Doesn't appear so. Councilor Benton to close.
Where's your support, councilors?
Ms. Ortega?
Councillor Bassan.
Yes.
Councillor Benton.
Yes.
Councillor Davis.
Yes.
Councillor Gibson.
Yes.
Councillor Jones.
Yes.
Councillor Pena.
Yes.
Councillor Sena.
Yes.
Councillor Borrego.
Yes.
8-0.
Thank you, councilors. Our next item is item I. Councillor Gibson, Councillor Davis, Councillor Jones, R220.
Thank you, Madam President. R234 is appropriating federal funds for.
Councillor Gibson, it's R220.
Oh, I went to the wrong one.
Item
Sorry.
I.
Thank you. Item I. This is R220, calling for the city of Albuquerque to explore alternative forms of government to a study to be presented to city leadership, identifying key aspects of the study. And the name is identifying key aspects of the study. And I move a do pass.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Councillor Jones, for the second. Are there questions or comments, councillors?
And I'd like to say just a little bit about
Go
this.
ahead, Councillor Gibson.
I talked with the mayor, and he seemed to be approving of this. This was several months ago, and this would just be looking for information. I mean, I think it's our responsibility as representatives in city government to always reassess where we spend our money, and it's how we can do things better. And that starts with just asking questions. And that's all we're doing here, is gathering information. I won't be here, but a lot of you will. And, you know, it just starts a conversation. You know, are we spending public dollars in the best way that we can? And I think that's an important question. I think it's a question that you're never really done asking. So this is a question.
Thank you, Councillor Gibson. Any other comments, or Councillor Bassan?
Thank you, Madam President. I had spoken with Councillor Gibson a while back about this, and I do have two questions about this now, and then kind of my reasoning behind my thought process on why I'm having a hard time getting behind it. But in this study, it didn't say in the legislation, but I'm curious, are we going to evaluate whether or not we should also unify the Sheriff's Department and APD?
No, this doesn't take any action. And actually, let's see, who is there someone here who can talk with us about item I?
Well, Councillor Gibson, I understand it's not taking action. I'm wondering if it's going to be included in the study. An evaluation on asking the question, should we unify the Sheriff's Department and APD?
Okay, well, I don't
Madam
know
Chair,
that I should
councillors.
actually answer that
Excuse
question
me,
on my
councillors,
own.
keep one at a time, please. Councillor Bassan and then Councillor Gibson.
Sorry.
No, well, I'm just wondering if in the study we are going to include having a qualified consultant evaluate whether or not it would be beneficial to unify APD and the Sheriff's Department.
Madam President and councilors, there was an amendment out of FGO that dealt with that, but I think Ms. Morris is best suited to tackle this question, and she's on with us. So let's hear from Ms. Morris, if that's okay.
Ms. Morris?
Yes, Madam Chair, councillors, this was addressed in an amendment from Councillor Senna, and that amendment's proposed to include in the study the unification of city and county services. So that would include all aspects of city and county government, including the APD and the Sheriff's Office. The study would be looking at this very much from a 30,000-foot view. So it wouldn't go into great detail about how we would go about integrating those departments, but would look at it from a more schematic level. And if this study were to recommend a particular form of government, and that was something that councillors wanted to pursue, then it would be future studies that would look in greater detail at how to pursue whichever particular form of government it is that the study ends up, recommending.
Councillor Gibson, did you have something to add?
No.
If not, I have some other councillors wanting to speak.
Madam President, I have more questions if you don't mind. I still have more I'd like to finish.
Yes, I would like to go back to you, Councillor Bassan, but Councillor Senna also had her hand up. So can I come back to you in a second?
Well, I think Councillor Bassan still had the floor in terms of her line of questioning, but since my amendment was brought up, I do want to just clarify as to why I put forward that amendment. I think not necessarily so that I want to eradicate council, of course, even though I'm leaving. I think the question was more so that, especially through the pandemic, but well before that, when folks, especially in all of our communities, but even in my district, and I also brought this up at FGO, but a constituent of mine who actually lived in the county had a real 911 situation in which there was an active shooter. When he dialed 911, he got to dispatch. However, dispatch conveyed that he's actually in the county. And for him, he said, I don't really care. I need police presence at this moment. And there was a lot of confusion. And even through our grants, and even oftentimes, like I said, through our emergency services, we shouldn't have to ask folks who are in an emergency situation, what color is your trash can? Is it blue or is it green? And that's how we respond. Do you qualify for this grant? Is your trash can blue or green? Can we provide eviction services and preventions for you? But we don't know because we have to know what your color of your trash can is. And for those that don't know, green trash cans are for county and blue are for the city. So for me, in proposing this amendment, it was to really evaluate how do we efficiently provide services to our community if there are times that we would be better off serving our communities and merging some of these programs, whether it's through the county or through the city, and really thinking about public safety. I think our fire rescue does this very well, where it's whomever is closest. And that I really do hope that we take an evaluation of that process and how we really are at each other's backs when it comes to fire, but now when it comes to police or even any other services, like I stated, in terms of grants or eviction services, we'll continue to maybe possibly provide better services if we have a collaborative joint effort. And as part of that, I saw that the study was being put forward. And if it is a possibility, like I said, and Ms. Morris also stated, it would be a 30,000-foot view, rather really getting into the weeds of things. At least that's my view and my desire to put forward this amendment at FGO.
You, Councillor
So-
Senna, and Councillor Bassan, I need to apologize to you. I thought you were done earlier, and that's why I went over to Councillor Senna. So I'm going to come back to you, and I guess you have several questions.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm wondering who determines and what would be who's the qualified consultant?
Madam Chair, councillors, we haven't chosen the consultant yet. There was a consultant that council staff and the councillors worked with to do some initial work in working out what this resolution should be looking at and to think about. But at this point, there is no consultant chosen.
Thank you, Ms. Morris, Madam President. So I guess my question is not who is it? What determines what a qualified consultant is for this study?
Madam Chair, that one I can answer. Madam Chair, councillors, we will be looking for somebody who has experience in working with local government research. I believe there is at least one individual at the University of New Mexico who is highly qualified in the realm of public administration and in studying forms of local government. And that's certainly one of the individuals I believe that we were considering reaching out to for this. Councillor Gibson might be able to speak a little bit more depth or Mr. Melendrez on that.
Councillor Gibson, Mr. Melendrez.
It might take him a minute to get with us, but if I may, Madam President, see, there are a lot of exciting places for this to go, but I kind of see that. I also have to say that I kind of see this in a progression, just, reach wide, and do the research. And I think that this is a first step. That's all. And as amended, because we did amend it, correct? If I remember correctly, in committee. So in that case, no, or did that went to FGO? Is that correct, Madam President? It did go through FGO. Okay. Well, I did miss that. I think I watched it on TV later though. So, but that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. I have some comments myself. I'm reverberating. I'm sorry. I don't know what's going on.
Madam President, would you like me to address the question that Councilor Bassan sort of left on the table?
Yes.
So council services and city departments are pretty well versed in contracting for professional services. That's a activity that we engage in regularly. We have on-call lists of consultants that we contract with for various things. And we have some flexibility with respect to finding qualified folks to do various jobs. And with the knowledge and sort of expertise that we have even within council services of vetting various contractors for various purposes, we think that we would be able to identify somebody in academia, either at UNM or elsewhere, to do this work for us. That contractor has not been identified yet. To the extent that we do need additional information, there are processes through procurement where we could put out public requests for information or initial questions regarding the scope of services that might be offered for this type of contract, and even go through an RFP process to select that contractor in the event that we're not particularly happy with the qualifications of folks that are initially identified. So there are a number of methods that we would go through to find a contractor to fulfill this scope. And these types of government studies are not unprecedented. So there's certainly somebody out there with the expertise to help.
Councillor Bassan.
Thank you, Madam President. Going back to this, I get that on one hand, we need to evaluate and progress down a wide scope and take a 30,000 foot view of what could benefit Albuquerque. But really, I'm struggling with, even though it was $35,000, now we're talking $50,000. In my world, that's a ton of money, but in city budget world, it's like a tiny little pin in the haystack or a drop in the bucket to a lot of people. But there's a lot of things that I feel like I would like to make sure that I focus on that are not a 30,000 foot view or a very big scope of potential progression for a study that leads to another study of how to study. And I can't support that right now, because to me, my priorities need to be laser focused on stuff that can really, really help Albuquerque now, when I feel like we're really failing at a lot of things.
Thank you, Councillor Bassan. Councillor Gibson, Councillor Benson.
Well, I just have to respond to that, because I think $50,000 is still a reasonable number. I think for what we can learn from this, then we can make a decision, is this a good form of government for us? Is this the best bang for our buck? And why? One thing I have learned after 8 years on council is how much things cost. And I know everybody says that, but boy, it's just been such a, amazing experience for me to find out how much it costs to run a city. Over $1 billion budget annual. Wow. That seems like quite a lot. And so $50,000, even if we go for a $50,000 contract, I think that the benefit from this might be change, and it might not be. But I think that's a question, that's a worthwhile question, and one that we should always be asking about.
Councillor Benton.
Yeah, this study wasn't my idea, but I do think it's worthwhile considering, and I agree with Councillor Bassan that we do have a lot of challenges and things that are not working well, and maybe we could just address those one by one. But it does make me wonder whether, just looking back at the history of our city, right? We had a city commission form of government, very much like the county commission is today, prior to 1970 or thereabouts, when it was changed to the present form of a mayor council two branch form of government. And then in 2000, and around at that time, we had a lengthy community-wide debate and two elections, if I remember, not one, but two votes of the city and county as to whether to consolidate at that time. So here we are 50 years later from the first action and 20 plus from the second one where that was voted down, but it was a pretty complex vote that was sort of determined for us by the state legislature as to how that went down. But I'm constantly being questioned by constituents as to what's the best way that the services are delivered, whether it's police or fire, but also something like housing. I mean, the county has its own housing authority, and we have our own housing, and we have a separate housing group that spun off from the city. There's just a lot of things of that nature that I think might be addressed by a study like this, where we could gather some information and maybe have those discussions, because in my discussions with some of the county commissioners now, they're going, why in the world do we have two housing authorities when we've got a community-wide housing crisis, and the same thing. Oftentimes, those discussions occur around public safety delivery. But so for that reason, I think it could be money well spent. I share some of the trepidation of Councillor Bassan at the same time, because, you know, yeah, one more study, but we could help, you know, if we were to pass this, we could formulate that contract going forward with the consultant, and might find some things that would be worthwhile discussing. Not necessarily total consolidation of the two governments into a metro government, but maybe just being more effective all the way around with some of the most critical needs. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Benton. I just wanted to mention that has anyone had a discussion with the county with regard, like the county manager, and you know, to see what their thoughts are regarding this? Because I hate to throw money at a study if we don't even know if the county is even interested in, you know, moving in that direction. They just moved out of city hall and bought their own building, and you know, it seems like they're moving further apart, actually. IDO is a really good example. The county chose not to participate with IDO. And so we have our own code, and they have their own code that they function under. And the other thing that concerns me is, you know, it seems like maybe some of our staff, and maybe the next president of the council can do this, but you know, some of our staff could do some of the research, maybe do some surveying to find out what the population is thinking, because I don't have any evidence that that's the direction the populace is wanting to go in. I mean, I think it makes sense from a financial standpoint to probably consolidate some things, but you know, when we think about the police and the sheriff's office, they couldn't be further apart. Is that something that we've done any research on? And it seems to me like some of our city staff could do some of that research, maybe a survey to find out if this is even something that is or are, you know, do people want to go in this direction? I think it does make sense, like from regional transit. You know, I mean, I've always thought a regional transit authority would be great. I mean, so there's a lot of questions, but has anyone talked to the county to see if that's something that they're, you know, they're even thinking about before we put $50,000 toward this? You know, we have a group that the city council and the county both sit on. It's the intergovernmental, and I forget the name of it, Councilor Pena, you got to help me with that one. It's the intergovernmental committee that we all sit on together. And it'd be interesting to see if maybe that would be a place, you know, that we could even start the discussion. So those are just my 2 cents. Thoughts that I had. I remember when, I think it was Dave Campbell in Good Government, if you guys remember that. I don't know if you do, you probably do, Councillor Benton and Councillor Jones, you probably remember that, when they were trying to consolidate some of our resources. And I believe that failed. So it'd be interesting to know that if we're going to spend the money, that we're even, you know, that they're even interested in doing this, because it's not just up to the city. It's kind of like a marriage. Let's see, Councillor Pena.
Thank you, Madam President. I think Councillor Snyder had her hand up before me. No? Oh, okay. Just kind of the mindset. I know that we had put in the amendment about the consolidation, but I think the original intent of the legislation is to really study different forms of government here at the city of Albuquerque. I think what we need to do as a city, I just have concerns about studies. I'm at the point where I think we just really need to roll up our sleeves and really tackle some of these issues that we have in our community. So, you know, I had several concerns about the housing authority. Early on when I got on council, you know, I have 2 housing projects, one very near to my house and another one down the street, you know, that I really had some concerns about. And I really think the city kind of lost that as part of the process, not anything to do with the leadership there or anything that they're doing. But I really think that we could be better served by having something like the water authority, the housing authority back at the city. But to study it, I think we're just spinning our wheels. So thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councillor Pena. Councillor Sena.
I'll just make my point pretty short. I know that I was the sponsor of that amendment at FGO because I really wanted to, first of all, convey the frustrations of a constituent, even though he's in the county. He actually just lives a few blocks from me. And oftentimes that's how our city is as well. It's not just my district. I know that many of our districts also have the unincorporated county. For the discussion, I mean, I think that certainly it would be up to our police to really evaluate whether merging would be worthwhile. I think there's many complexities to that as well, because we are in a consent decree. We can't just join another police force and absorb that without further discussions as a city. And I know that when I proposed my amendment, I did not consult with County Commission. I would be in support to hear their thoughts on what that would look like. But I also think that, we don't necessarily need a study to have the discussion. I don't believe that county fire, along with fire rescue through the city, really belabored that issue before they said, look, we just have to respond. So that's part of it. But I just wanted to make that point.
Thank you, Councillor Sena. Councillor Gibson.
Thank you, Madam President. So I'm kind of disappointed because minus the amendment that was adopted, it was a pretty, I thought, straightforward approach. Ask questions, get as much information as you can, and ask the questions. What have other city governments or county governments, what have they experienced? City governments, rather. And has it changed either one way or the other? How has it changed affected you? What were the pitfalls? Those are the questions. However, with the amendment, that deserves its own study. I think it's a great idea. I thought about a combination of city county government, because there is so much repetition, and sometimes it seems competitive, maybe. I don't know what it is exactly, but I think that we could do so much better working together than separately. I'd love to see that happen. But the original doesn't address that at all. So what I can do, we can just go for a vote. This would allow council services to put this together. Is that correct? Is there somebody who can help me kind of wind this up?
So, Councillor, is this going to be your close then?
Yes, if I don't see anybody else's hands anyway. And
Okay.
I think we all know how we're going to vote. So let's just put it up for a vote. There's nothing to say that this doesn't have to be, put off. This is my last day, or last council meeting anyway. It seems like a strange way to close, but it is true. So anyway, I just urge your support, and
Thank you, Councillor Gibson. So with that, we will move to a vote because we have 3 more items that we need to deal with tonight. Ms. Ortega.
Councillor Bassan,
No.
Councillor Benton,
Yes.
Councillor Davis,
Yes.
Councillor Gibson,
Yes.
Councillor Jones,
Yes.
Councillor Pena,
No.
Councillor Sena,
No.
Councillor Borrego.
No.
Motion fails on a 4-4 vote.
Okay, well, we will move on to item number J, which is R227, Councillor Pena.
Thank you, Madam President. R227 is appropriating funds to the Capital Implementation Program for the 2021 General Obligation Program. I move it do pass.
I'll second that, Councillor.
And I apologize, I lost the analysis. My laptop's going dead. So here we go. This resolution appropriates the 2021 general obligation bond projects that were approved by the voters of Albuquerque on November 2nd, 2021, as part of the two-year budget and decade plan per 2-12-2 ROA 1994. The mayor is required to formulate the decade plan for the capital improvements of the city of Albuquerque. The decade plan must be submitted on a biannual basis. And so in your packets attached all the list of all the projects. So I move a do pass.
Thank you, Councillor. You already moved a do pass. So any questions, comments? Councillor Gibson. Councillor
Sorry,
Gibson?
I was offering a second. Is there
Oh,
already?
I
been a
think I
second?
seconded it already
Okay,
in the
sorry.
beginning, but thank you. Any questions, comments, councillors? Councillor Pena to close.
Urge your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Ms. Ortega.
Councillor Bassan,
Yes.
Councillor Benton,
Yes.
Councillor Davis,
Yes.
Councillor Gibson,
Yes.
Councillor Jones,
Yes.
Councillor Pena,
Yes.
Councillor Sena,
Yes.
Councillor Borrego.
Yes.
8-0.
Thank you, councillors. That's item J. R227 passes on an 8-0. K, item K, Councillor Benton, Councillor Davis, Councillor Sena, and Councillor Pena. R233. And I'm not sure who wants to present this. Councillor Sena, seems like you're always the chosen one.
Thank you. I know that this is an issue close to the other fellow sponsors, but I will move this for the sake of conversation and the council meeting. R233 is approving the Transit Department's equity analysis for the zero fare pilot beginning on January 1st, 2022. I move a do pass.
Thank you, Councillor Sena. And it looks like I have a second from Councillor Davis. And what I meant to say, Councillor Sena, is that you seem to be the transit queen. So that's what I meant when I said you're the chosen one. So with that, do we have any comments or questions from councillors? I don't see. Oh, Councillor Sena, do you have your hand up?
I do. I will use this opportunity as my closing as well if other councillors want to speak, unless you have any other questions. But I know and just want to recognize prior to his retirement, Director Holcomb, having done a lot of work on transit equity and recognizing a lot of the work that community has done. Of course, Councillor Davis, Benton, and Pena have championed zero fares for quite some time. And for me to be able to jump on and really evaluate what we need to do in terms of our gap analysis, how we can be providing better services, and just thank the transit department for this study and also working with our communities to really make those evaluations and to improve our services.
Thank you for that close, Councillor Sena. With that, I will move to a vote. Ms. Ortega.
Councillor Bassan,
Yes.
Councillor Benton,
Yes.
Councillor Davis,
Yes.
Councillor Gibson,
Yes.
Councillor Jones,
Yes.
Councillor Pena,
Yes.
Councillor Sena,
Yes.
Councillor Borrego,
Yes.
8-0.
Thank you, councillors. And finally, on to our last order of business for tonight. Item number L, which is Councillor Gibson, R234. Councillor Gibson.
Thank you, Madam President. R234 is appropriating federal funds for an intelligent transportation system traffic signal project on Louisiana Boulevard. I move it do pass. So this is an interesting program and you know, a very high need location. And I think that, do we have Mr. Mancusi on board? There he is. I think he is our expert to explain the bill better than I can.
Madam President, if I may, I would like to second that motion.
Councillor Jones, thank you, but I think Councillor Sena had her hand up as a second prior.
Everybody called on it, so I thought we weren't seconded yet. Thank you.
And she was doing this to me so I could see her. Sorry for that. Actually, we had 3 seconds on that one, so that's great, Councillor Gibson. I'm sorry, you were calling for Mr. Manicucci. Mr. Manicucci, are you there?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Madam President.
Go ahead.
Madam President, this bill is real simply, the Department of Municipal Development asked us late last week if we could get this bill in. It was they had meant to do this programming in the last capital cleanup bill, but it was an omission, and they need to get it in so that they can use it on this project that will begin in January. The project is simply this: on the Louisiana corridor from Central to Manal, we have a very old traffic signal system. Excuse me. But we have two traffic issues going on there. One, the holiday and Saturday afternoon peak traffic for the shopping at Uptown, and also the special event traffic going into the Northeastern Gate, New Mexico Expo, just south of Lomas on Louisiana. By upgrading the traffic signal to allow basically computerization to be put in effect and for it to link to the central processing room now for traffic signals at Copper in Wyoming, they just need to upgrade the equipment. That's what this will do. And that will allow them to better manage these traffic queues and try to real-time manage them and kind of make them flow more efficiently. This money will be used to replace existing capital outlay money, council set-aside money, and that will fund the project. And then the capital set-aside money will be left in place, because usually when they do these projects, once they take out the equipment, they find other needs in it they'll have to use. They'll have other equipment that needs to be replaced. And also once they get the equipment in, then they can look at potentially applying some more sophisticated equipment beyond ITS, which is the automated signal traffic performance measure Purdue technology that they've installed on Central and also on Coors, and they're installing on Alameda, that will allow them to do even more further real-time traffic management and computer modeling to make the traffic flow more efficient on that one. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Manicucci. Do we have any questions or comments of Mr. Manicucci, councilors? Don't see any questions or comments. So we will go back to our sponsor, Councillor Gibson.
Thank you, Madam President. I just urge your support.
Thank you, Councillor Gibson. So we have a motion and a second. Ms. Ortega to the vote.
Councillor Bassan,
Yes.
Councillor Benton,
Yes.
Councillor Davis,
Yes.
Councillor Gibson,
Yes.
Councillor Jones,
Yes.
Councillor Pena,
Yes.
Councillor Sena,
Yes.
Councillor Borrego,
Yes.
8-0.
Thank you, councilors. That motion passes on an 8-0 vote. So with that, I want to wish all of the councilors a joyous holiday season. I want to wish the public a joyous holiday season, whatever you practice, be it Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, anything else. I hope that we have a better 2022, and this is your City Council President signing off. This meeting is adjourned.